Well, it's time, Cole. It's time to restart the discussion. You got to fire Brad Brownell because it's this weekend proved that Brad cannot win the big games. That is the litmus test that is thrown around for college basketball coaches all the time. Remember, Penn State fired James Franklin because he can't win the big games.
Yep.
I'm looking up and down Clemson's schedule right now, Cole. They are 1-2 against ranked opponents this season. The only ranked opponent they did beat was a 4-point victory at home against SMU. That's not to say they haven't beaten some decent basketball teams over the course of the season. It's also kind of pathetic that in ACC play and out of conference play, they've only played 4. Excuse me, they're not 1-2, they're 1-3. They've only played 4 ranked opponents all season long, and they have gotten embarrassed in a couple of those.
Yeah, it's a great way to start Overreaction Monday on a Tuesday. And if you think it's an overreaction, Tolos, let us know. You might agree with Diesel. The fact of the matter is, when you look at just the singular and what happened Saturday, Diesel, Duke was what Vegas told us Duke was. Yeah. They were the better basketball team. And not to mention now Clemson, after that loss, has dropped out completely of the AP top 25, Diesel, which I knew they'd drop a little bit. I didn't know if they would drop out after a loss to a really good Duke team, but you have to factor in the loss earlier in the week to Virginia Tech, right? Mm-hmm. So, man, it's tough. I watched that game Saturday and thought to myself, boy, do they miss Zach Foster, who got injured back in early December, a guard that I think would have provided a lot of speed in that game, but Clemson was just outmatched in every aspect on Saturday.
Yeah, they got out-rebounded. They got outshot from the field. They got outshot from the three-point line. They got outstarred from the Boozers, the Cameron Bruiser and Caden Boozer. Isaiah Evans also was really good for Duke on Saturday. And, Clemson, this is what Brad Brownell told us after the Virginia Tech game. We need everybody playing well to win basketball games. And that is not more evident than it was against Duke on Saturday. They held their own up to halftime. Were they going to halftime with a 5-point deficit or something like that? And then Duke absolutely walked away from them in the second half. Yeah, Clemson made that run. They made it close enough to beat the spread, and
barely.
You were
barely.
Did you take Duke to cover? No, is that why you were mad about it?
I wish I would have taken Clemson by 0.5. They covered Diesel half a point.
Yeah. It was just not a good showing for the Clemson Tigers, and they had time, right? They had all this time to rest and recover, and going into Duke is a tough ask for any team because Duke has won 29 straight home games. It is a very, very tough place to go in and play. Duke now has 8 straight victories against AP top 25 opponents. That's not taking anything away from Duke. They are very, very good. But in the second half of that game, Clemson was just simply not competitive. They were not themselves. Duke took them out of their game plan. And of course, they just didn't have guys knocking down shots. And when you don't have any type of a hero that can go out there and give you 20, 25 points consistently, you're not going to have success against these really good teams.
No, you don't have a guy that you can just give the ball to, Diesel. You don't have a guy that you can say, hey, go get a basket. You don't have a guy that you can just trust to go get points. And look, this comes down to what we've been saying for the past 3 weeks now. Despite Clemson having won basketball games, that's great. That's fine and dandy. But what have we been saying? And again, that's why I encourage you, if you're a Clemson fan, to listen to this station, because we're not going to just make you believe that everything's A-OK only in the winning and, pump you up 24/7. My point being, we've said for 3 weeks now that Clemson, yes, the wins are good. Yes, they're playing really good team defense, and that's great. It should be celebrated. But if you know basketball just to the nth degree, Diesel, you can see that Clemson lacks that guy that's ball dominant that can go get a basket and take over a game. Again, I like what they have. Carter Weiling and RJ, all those guys are good, but they don't have that guy they can just say, hey, you're a dog, go get points. And that showed on Saturday, and it also showed in the games that they won defensively. Sometimes you have to win defensively because that's your only go-to. They won defensively because they are good defensively, but a lot of it had to do, Diesel, because that's the only style in which they could play. if that makes sense.
Well, and look up and down their schedule. They're winning a lot of games defensively, but they're not blowing those teams out. I mean, a conference game on the road at Georgia Tech, they won that game by 14 points. Good for them. They beat a bad Pitt team by 11 points. Good for them. Again, these are bad teams, right? This is the bottom end of the conference. And, they look good against them. Every time they have to face a team with a pulse, NC State beat them by 4 on their home court. And they faced Alabama. They made that furious comeback, but they came up short. They let BYU go on a huge run in the second half. They let Cincinnati go on a huge run in the second half. They won that game, by the way. They lack a killer instinct. And, as good as this season has felt so far, if you're a Clemson basketball fan, and again, I'm really not trying to take anything away. Yeah. I'm being facetious when I say you got to move on from Brad Brownell. Right. I'm not being serious about that. Not yet. Again, not to, right. Again, give it 2 weeks. We'll see what happens. It feels like, as good as this season has been, it may ultimately not matter all that much once you get into NCAA tournament play, because this will be a tournament team. I mean, they go up against a mid-major that can score 90 points a night, 85 points a night. They're going to be in serious trouble again.
And I was talking about that very thing, Diesel, with a buddy of mine on Saturday, and that's kind of what worries you. Like, again, you said it, all the wins during the season, they should be celebrated because you work hard. You'll want to celebrate wins throughout the course of a regular season, and they've played good. Like you said it, taking nothing away from them at all, but the fact of the matter is you can see reality sometimes, even in wins, you can say, they don't have this. They don't have that. And we talked about it. What would this team be when they went up against a team that shot the ball well? Duke came out on Saturday and said, hey, we're going to shoot from 3, which kind of surprised you because they're a tall, lengthy team that likes to live inside, but they came out and shot 34% on the night. They got off to a little bit of a bumpy start from 3, but guess what they started doing? They started hitting their 3-pointers. And that, for me, is really when they pulled away because Clemson on the night only shot 25% from behind the arc. So if you can't match that productivity and scoring that Clemson tried to match but couldn't, it don't matter how good defense you play. It just doesn't.
And this Clemson team, their MO is put up a shot and get back and play defense. You got to hope that shot goes in, right? And if it doesn't, the possessions start adding up for the other team that you're not able to make up and get second and third chance opportunities.
Clemson, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. They can't play transition basketball. Like they just can't.
They play transition defense. They just don't play any transition offense.
There's nothing about that team that has any kind of transition to it, man.
And Duke absolutely hammered them rebounding when Clemson was shooting the ball. Duke got so many more rebounds off of Clemson shots than Clemson was able to get offensively. And against a team like Duke, if you don't have 5 guys, and I'm talking a couple guys on your starting roster and 1 or 2 guys on your coming off your bench that are giving you 12 to 15 points, you got no chance against a team like Duke. You just don't have enough possessions if you're not hitting those shots.
Well, the problem is Justin Porter and Dylan Hunter combined for 8 points, right? And those are 2 of your guys that are putting a lot of minutes on the floor. And when you look at their productivity this year and Saturday, combined, they played 59 minutes to 2 of them. 59 minutes were 2 players, and they scored 8 points.
Yeah.
So they're just not efficient. And again, when you have an offense that's really, really meh, but a defense that's really, really good, you're still going to win a lot of games, and Clemson has. But that's why we've been saying all along this season that, hey, they're good, but just let's see. Let's see how they do against Duke. And we talked about it. We both said Duke's going to have their way with Clemson. They did. Do I think Clemson's toast in the tournament? Look, I think style of play matters a lot, Diesel. I think if you had to ask me right now on the 17th of February, I think Clemson might win a game. I don't see them winning. I'd be surprised if Clemson won 2 games in the tournament. I think they can win a game. They're going to get in, obviously. They had a really good year.
They would have to get Justin Porter and Nick Davidson back hot, playing really good basketball, playing efficient basketball.
Maybe they do. Maybe
the rest of the season. And the good news is, you got a little bit of a break, right? Virginia Tech was a sneaky good basketball team. I think it was RJ last week on the text line. He called it.
Yeah.
Again, credit to RJ on that one. Duke, obviously one of the best couple teams in the country. You just hit a buzzsaw there. Now, you got Wake Forest on the road. They are a relatively weak basketball team, 13-12 overall, 4-8 in conference. And then you have Florida State at home, who's 5-7 in conference. Maybe you get a couple of games where you get right. You start feeling yourself. Brad Brownell puts the ball in those guys' hands that haven't been scoring a lot lately and say, hey, go out there and win us a basketball game. Challenge them to take a lion's share of these shots. Make them start hitting shots. But you cannot let those guys fade down the stretch, fall apart over the last 10 games or so, and then basically be non-factors in the ACC tournament because you get bounced early. You got a long time until you play an NCAA tournament game. You need to play multiple games in the ACC tournament, and you're not going to get there if your stars aren't getting it done for you.
And I'm glad Matt on the stream brought this up on Facebook. He said Duke plays elite defense as well. That was one of the notes I had from the game Saturday, man. Like, while we talk about their star power, Boozer had 18 in 37 minutes. He was 7 of 14 from the field, very efficient. He rebounds the ball really well. He can block, he can steal, he can do it all. He's one of the better players in the country. And Evans, 17. While we look at those guys, and then Caden Boozer off the bench with 12, you think, oh, like they've got star power offense, and they do, and they have the ability to live inside and come out behind the arc and play. But to Matt's point, what I saw Saturday was he's exactly right. Their defense doesn't get talked about enough. They made it Saturday incredibly difficult, Diesel, for Clemson to get good looks. I'm telling you, I watched that game after I listened to Don Muntz on the radio. I got home and backed it up. Clemson wasn't getting good looks. Like, Duke was stifling, especially on the ball, perimeter. Duke's defense was incredible. And when you can limit a team from getting good looks, they don't already play great offense, you're going to win 9 out of those 10 games.
And Duke was moving the ball really, really well. They did a great job getting those open looks. Now, and credit to Duke on this one as well. They handled that quick turnaround from playing Saturday and yesterday.
Yeah, that's right.
They hammered Syracuse by nearly 40 points yesterday. This Duke team is for real, Cole.
They're legit.
When they can play a tough defensive team like Clemson and turn around and put up 100 points just, 3 days later? That's incredible.
They're
2 days.
110% Diesel, a Final Four team. Yeah. There's no doubt. Like, could they get beat? Yeah, it's basketball. It's March Madness. But I'm telling you, it is a sure bet as any. Now, we watched some really good teams over the weekend. We watched Iowa State last night. Right now, Iowa State looks unbeatable.
Incredible.
But my point being, Duke's a Final Four lock. I'm just saying they are a lock to be in the Final Four. They just have like every facet. And I know they've been in a drought, Diesel, when it comes to national championships lately. They've had stars. They've had guys like Zion and others who hadn't been able to get them there. I think they play more as a team right now. They're a good basketball team right now.
Well, speaking of that Iowa State team, I mean, they play a similar style of defensive basketball to Clemson. They spread the ball around among their different shooters a lot, and they're playing really good basketball right now. The difference is one team, Iowa State, hitting their shots. Clemson is not. They beat Houston 70-67. Again, Iowa State did it without any real star-level performances. Houston, on the other hand, is a team built around stars, and they had some really good players play in that game. Kingston Flemings, 22 points. Emmanuel Sharp, 16 points. But they had multiple players, kind of like Clemson had, who played significant minutes, who gave them basically nothing when it came to scoring. And that is just a recipe for losing basketball games.
Well, that game last night was incredible. And the difference is you look at Iowa State and what they do offensively. While they may not have one guy that goes for 20, 25, you look what they did last night. Buchanan 10, Jefferson 12, Milan 8, Torrey 6, Lipsy 9. And then off the bench, you had 8, 6, and 11. And then one of those guys was really good down the stretch. And not to mention, Iowa State went on a huge run to end the game. I mean, a huge run. Houston, for a little bit of time right there in the second half, looked like they had that game under control. But Iowa State's really, really good. There was some high-level basketball played this weekend. Nate Heiss last night, like that guy, I don't know how you don't fall in love with him. He was incredible off the bench, and he was a big reason that they won like they did. Really good guard play from him. He's a senior. I like Iowa State a lot. I think you've got as good right now going into the tournament. Here's where I am. I know everybody loves upsets, Diesel. Everybody likes to see like the Cinderella, but I'm telling you, I think going into the tournament here in a few weeks, we've got as good of a core of basketball like high-level basketball, 1 through 15 that we've had in a long time. Purdue, Houston, a lot of these top 25 teams are now somewhere between 7 and 15, but any of those teams between 7 and 15 could win it all, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Saturday night, have your TV set, have your schedule cleared at 6:30. Duke hosting Michigan, number 3 hosting number 1. It's going to be an absolute phenomenal basketball game in D.C. I would love to see that game be played at Cameron, but I mean, beggars can't be choosers. Neutral game in Washington, D.C. This could be a tournament preview matchup.
Oh, no doubt. It's going to be a really big – I mean, again, you talk about Elite Eight, Final Four. Like, this is a Final Four matchup. This is exactly – Michigan's, 24-1? They've lost 1 game. They listen to this. Michigan, you talk about how good they are. They notched their 10th 30-point win, 30-point victory with that win over UCLA. 10 times this year, they've won by 30. By the way, that's the most in Division I. It was also the Wolverines' 20th double-digit win of the season. Like, they're not just winning. And by the way, don't forget, they have Purdue tonight.
Yeah,
before that game. That's huge.
Michigan's facing a gauntlet down the stretch. On the road at number 7 Purdue tonight. They'll play Duke on Saturday. 2 games later, they play on the road at number 10 Illinois. 2 games later, they finish off the season at home against a ranked Michigan State. A rivalry game. Michigan has quite the tough slate down the stretch.
Yeah, and I think Dewey or JB brought it up on the stream, and I think we have to mention it just to laugh. How bad's that Florida-South Carolina game going to be tonight? I mean, really?
Yeah.
I mean, talk about a team that started the season ranked in the top 25. At one point fell out of the top 25 in Florida, right? We were sitting here thinking, well, what's going on with Florida? And then they all of a sudden just surged. Now they're 19-6. They went from 14 to 12 in the AP top 25. They're really, really good. South Carolina's going to get stomped tonight.
Well, they just better be glad that Michi Johnson is playing for draft status because if Michi Johnson was not – if he was not a projected NBA guy, he decided to shut it down, this team would be losing by 50 every night.
It's bad.
It's really bad.
It's I don't know. I just think, I mean, where's the game at? Is it Columbia or
let's see.
I don't think it matters.
No,
I don't know that it matters. But
no, it's in Gainesville.
It's Gainesville. Okay.
Woo.
So it's going to be tough.
rough.
What's the spread on 22.5 points.
Wowza.
22.5 points in an SEC basketball game. I don't know. As much as we laugh about that 22.5 point spread, we'd probably take Florida to win by 22.5 or more. But some good games tonight. Hey, also following that North Carolina situation. I mean, Diesel, they're at NC State tonight, but what is life without Caleb Wilson?
Yeah.
That's going to be tough. And you've got Seth Trimble and Stevenson and other guys that are really, really good. They have NC State tonight. I just think that as you get in close to tournament time now, you start thinking, what is this team really built on? You'll find out without Caleb Wilson. And then the other fun story over the weekend, and I'm looking to see when they play again. They play tonight. Still undefeated, Diesel. Miami of Ohio, 25-0 tonight. Could the streak come to an end tonight at UMass? UMass is 15-11.
No, you're not going to lose to a team that's got the word ass built into their.
You would think, but let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Why are they only favored by 2 points tonight? I don't know.
What's UMass record?
They're 15-11, 6-7 in the MAC. So they're a middle-of-the-road average team out of the MAC, right? Like, I don't know. Miami of Ohio is good. Miami of Ohio also hadn't been, drastically tested, Diesel. We'll see what happens. I know that's weird, but I think that will be one of the more fun stories to follow as we get close to the tournament. Is Miami of Ohio a fraud? 25-0 and 12-0 in the conference is incredible, but who have they, have they beaten any good teams?
No, you can't do that, man.
Well, no?
A team that's 25-0, you just got to enjoy the ride.
Well,
right?
What if they lose in the first round?
Well, I mean, that's fine. They had a phenomenal ride to get there. To me, I don't place value on a team by what they do in the tournament. Right? That is part of the equation, but that is not.
You're going to keep coaches around for a long time. Coaches would love for you to be the AD if that's the case. I'm just
saying it can't be the be all end all. You can't look at the season as a failure because they lose in the first round.
No, I'm not saying look at it as a failure, but let's see who they've beaten. They've beaten Kent State, Buffalo, Toledo, Western Michigan, Akron, Bowling Green, Ball State. So I just think my point is it'll be interesting to see if they've truly been tested enough to make a tournament run. Maybe they have. Maybe they're a good team and it doesn't matter. Again, they don't play anybody else steering they'll probably win the MAC tournament as well. It's in Cleveland, but we'll see. I think it'll be fun to follow and see if they can go on a run there.
JB on the stream brings up a good point. I'd forgotten about this. Thank you, JB. It's the Frank Martin effect. That's why. Frank Martin is the head basketball coach at UMass. That's why the Minutemen are only 2-point dogs.
Yeah, maybe so. The Frank Martin effect. That's what they're considering in Vegas. Diesel, a lot happened this weekend. Let's get into some other sports moments from the weekend. The best game I watched wasn't men's college basketball, also the Daytona 500. What else did you watch? College baseball. Clemson looked really good. South Carolina looked pretty good, not great. And a head-scratching comment from Paul Maneri. We'll get into it next.
offensively as some other teams I've had, and so obviously it was hard for us at times. When we did get an open shot, felt like we never made it for a while. And so against these guys, I mean, I thought we guarded about as well as we can guard them. And I thought our kids played their tails off. I thought we fought. We battled on it. I don't know what the glass ended up, but I thought we fought on the glass. They still got 9 offensive rebounds. We got 9. But I mean, I'm proud of our guys for continuing to fight. It's hard when you're struggling that bad on offense for your defense not to just give in. And I didn't think we did. They broke us down some because they're good, but I thought our kids competed. But congrats to Duke. Excellent team.
Brad Brownell, after the loss on Saturday, almost felt like a game. You know how sometimes you watch in college football, Diesel, or in the NFL, where the defense, man, and we saw this in the NFL playoffs a couple of times. The defense is just like coming, and they're bringing it. And guess what? The offense just doesn't give them anything. You know, that's almost what it felt like on Saturday, because Clemson just didn't have the firepower offensively. And he said it, they're just not dynamic. You know, no, not insulting the guys you have, but they're not dynamic offensively. So
how do you fix that, though? Is it just you got to spend more money in the next offseason? You got to become that team that's known for dropping serious cash on scores?
Well, I think you had a guy that got hurt in December that would have been really, really good for you, and Foster. And when Foster goes down with that ACL, and we talked about it then, I think you're talking about there, and again, not to say what if, but I think in Zach Foster, you had your most not experienced, but aggressive guard that could go get buckets for you. When he goes down, this offense has kind of become dull in a way. So I think, obviously, not blaming it on injuries, but losing a guy in Foster, I don't think helped, right? And then it shows that, hey, you don't have a next guy up that's as ball dominant as Foster was that can just go get those buckets. So you've got to obviously recruit and get guys in the portal and stay healthy. That's a big part of it. But really good defensively, just not the best offensively this season. What else happened this weekend, Tolo, sports-wise, that caught your eye? We want to hear from you. 844-326-3663, 844-FANFONE, FANFONE. Phone lines are open, but we are pushing a lot of them to 5 p.m. as we are going to do Overreaction Monday on a Tuesday coming up at 5. The Joy Law Firm text line is wide open. Again, 844-326-3663. A really good sports weekend. Sunday was great. The Daytona 500 golf was fantastic on Sunday. Shout out to Jacob Bridgman, Diesel of Clemson and Chapman High School for a top 10 finish. He was like top 3, you know, rounding the final 9 for a little bit, and thought he was in contention. But, you know, the best game that I watched all weekend, and I watched Iowa State Houston last night. It was phenomenal. It was. But I'm telling you, the number one thing that happened over the weekend for me was 2 words: Dawn Staley. That game Saturday night, if you didn't watch, Tolo's out there, South Carolina LSU, I'm telling you, there are few matchups that just deliver consistently as good as South Carolina and LSU. Kim Mulkey and Dawn Staley, Diesel, what a game that was on Saturday. And Malaysia Fulwiley, you know, leaving the grass isn't always greener on the other side going to LSU. I was a little bit surprised in how that game finished out. 79-72, South Carolina wins, 25-2 now on the season, 11-1 in conference play. Do you know how many times South Carolina's now beaten LSU consecutively?
I don't. I'm going to guess like 6, 7.
18.
Ooh. Whoa.
18, Diesel. Think about that. For as good as this rivalry's been over the past, 6, 7, 8 years.
And if you buy into the hype, then you would think they were trading wins and losses.
No.
Backwards and forwards.
18 wins in a row for Dawn Staley in South Carolina. Oh, they're dominating. And it was a great game. I loved it. Raven Johnson, just awesome. Joyce Edwards, obviously awesome. But Kim Mulkey and Dawn Staley, there's something about that matchup, Diesel, that just it butters my bread, man. It gets me going.
So you're telling me you were at home alone on Valentine's Day watching women's basketball?
No, I was out Spartanburg and watching it with a bunch of people. And I was actually with people who were pulling for South Carolina, so it made it fun. You know, I pull for Dawn Staley, and I want Dawn to win. And it was a big, big crowd. And I'm telling you, man, it was the best game of the weekend. Like, it was phenomenal. I cannot tell you, Flau'jae Johnson, for those that watch it, and I had a Tolo tweet at me after the game, and I can't remember who it was, and I'm sorry, but tweet at me about this. Flau'jae Johnson, who had a big night, she had 21. She goes to the free throw line, and boy, this game's tight, it's close, and she misses both free throws right there at the end. And Flau'jae's not somebody that typically misses those, but those two missed free throws, I mean, it was almost shocking, jaw-dropping. Flau'jae's an incredible basketball player, but I think the story was Malaysia Fulwiley. Diesel, the South Carolina transfer, goes over to LSU. She played 23 minutes on Saturday night against her old team. And you know what she came away with? 6 points. 1 for 8 from the field. Again, I said it, the grass isn't always greener, and she had some comments post-game about the difference between Kim Mulkey as a coach and Dawn Staley as a coach, but I know that women's basketball doesn't entertain everybody, but when it's high-level basketball, South Carolina, man, they have that factor, Diesel, to where they can turn it on at the right time and win those big games.
So it just goes to show that Kim Mulkey is Dawn Staley's little sister.
Oh,
we don't have that conversation about women's sports very often, right? We talk about all the time. A team goes on a run in a head-to-head rivalry. Oh, it's the big brother, little brother. That's big sister, little sister in the SEC.
Yeah, and I can't wait to have Coach Staley on. We usually have her on right before the women's tournament here in Greenville, which is coming up here in a few weeks, and hope we can get her on again because she's a lot of fun. So that, for me, Tolos, was number one. Again, want to hear from you at 844-326-3663. That was number one. Last night was really good, Iowa State and Houston. Diesel, I love the Daytona 500. I love the golf on Sunday.
Yeah.
My gosh, Scotty Scheffler. I mean, what is this guy just making it so interesting now in the way that he's playing 2 weekends in a row? I mean, you said it 2 weeks ago. The guy almost missed the cut.
Yeah.
And look what he does.
He seems to be intentionally falling back on Thursdays so that he can have a more dramatic comeback down the stretch. I mean, he had an amazing 3-round run. Finished with a 63. It will be 7 under par or 8 under par. I don't remember the par of that of Pebble Beach, but he was on fire on Sunday.
Yeah,
and he almost came all the way back. Just didn't quite have enough time.
Colin Morikawa wins it 5 under in round 4, a total of 22 under.
Isn't it nice though to see names that we know are really, really good golfers early in the season? We'll see if this can last. You get halfway into the season, 10 tournaments under your belt, you start to get a little tired, and some of the big names who don't win a lot, they sort of fall back in the pack a little bit, and the elites kind of take over. But it's great to see guys like Colin get this done because, again, we know he's good.
He's been playing good golf lately. Last weekend, too, Minwoo Lee came in second, T2 with Straka. Tommy Fleetwood was good on Saturday and Sunday. Again, you talked about Scotty. He finished T4 with Tommy Fleetwood. Scotty finished 9 under in round 4. In that round on Sunday, Diesel, Scotty Scheffler, I think in the first 6 holes on Sunday, he hits 2 eagles. He shoots 2 eagles. But then what's wild about it is you think about it. In that Sunday round of golf, Scotty Scheffler shot 3 bogeys and 3 eagles. Like, you talk about opposite ends of the spectrum. If he just shoots par on those bogeys, he's leading the tournament and wins the whole thing, right? But I'm telling you, I'm not comparing him to Tiger because he's not, and he never will be in my mind. But that guy, he's just got something special. And look, he hadn't won yet this year. He's going to win. I'm telling you, he'll win. I don't know when, if it'll be next month or when, maybe in April in Augusta. That guy's going to win. He's just too good consistently not to. Also, again, shout out to Jacob Bridgman of Clemson from right here in the upstate at Chapman High School. He finished T8 with Shane Lowry and a few others. It was really good. McIlroy was good. He didn't get a lot of the coverage on Sunday.
So I was going to say, is Scotty is playing kind of like Rory right now. Like, Rory will have a couple of head-scratching bogeys on the final day, but he'll hit some incredible shots. Now, flip side of that, Rory kind of playing like Scotty right now because Rory had 8 birdies in his final round, no bogeys, 8 birdies, all pars the rest of the way. An incredible performance from him. He came back. Obviously, he had a rough day number 3 with a 72, which, it's not bad. It's par, but still, if you want to win tournaments, you can't have those off days where you're letting guys pick up 7-8 shots on you.
You also had the Olympics this weekend. I didn't watch much. I didn't watch any of the NBA All-Star game. I just, again, found other good things to watch. There was too much going on good Sunday that I didn't watch the slam dunk or the celebrity or the All-Star game on Sunday. Didn't watch much Olympics. Did you get any Olympics in, Diesel?
I watched a little bit. Yeah. I watched some earlier today, but also we're going to get into the Sweden versus Canada fight on the curling rink. But what was really interesting this morning, Cole, and I thought I meant to text you and tell you to look for it. I did tell Dan B to look for it since he's our resident hardcore NASCAR fan.
Mm-hmm.
There's an event I didn't even know existed until earlier today. Men's speed skating team pursuit. It's played on, or it's I guess competed on the big track, not the short track, but it's on a big track, and it's 3 skaters going 8 laps.
Wow!
And the goal, everybody has to lead the pack for a short amount of time because they're just going all out sprinting as hard as they can for 8 laps, and they'll get into like a really tight draft. And they'll sync their motion really, really well. They have 2 different teams that start on opposite ends of the ice. So they're competing head to head against each other, but they're on opposite ends of the ice. So imagine if you were starting, the Daytona 500, like a little special event with 2 3-car packs, like a 3-car Ford pack and a 3-car Chevy pack. One starts in turn number 1. The other one starts in turn number 3. And they just race 25 laps and get right in that tight little pack and see who can have the best time.
And this was so cool. Today, this morning, you saw it?
Today, yeah. It was the gold medal match. Team USA lost.
Wow.
Unfortunately. Here's the crazy thing. Team USA had been unbeaten all season, whatever that means, whatever the season is for this sport. They were unbeaten all season, and then they got absolutely smoked by Italy in the finals.
Man,
smoked.
We dropped the ball there.
I think they realized they weren't going to win, so they kind of just took the gas off. Now, here's the thing: it's like when you get into a final in that one, you're either going to finish first or second.
Yeah.
It's not like all the teams run and you rank them based on their speed. 1 and 2 are going to face off. 3 and 4 are going to face off. So 1 and 2 is going to be gold and silver. 3 and 4 is going to be either bronze or nothing.
How about that? Interesting. Maybe Dan B can get into that since he's a racing guy. There was also some really good college baseball this weekend. We'll get into that at 4:00. We'll spend the 4:00 segment on what happened, especially in state with Clemson, South Carolina. Some really cool storylines that aren't being talked about enough. Obviously, it doesn't get the coverage, but college baseball opening weekend storylines insane, especially if you hadn't heard about what happened for the kid in Baylor. We'll talk about that at 4:00. And then the Daytona 500 on Sunday, 2 days ago. Obviously, we had the day off yesterday because of President's Day. Tyler Reddick, my gosh, what a crapshoot of a race the Daytona 500 is, man. Like you can't call it. And a guy that doesn't lead laps wins the race. I think it's the most difficult one of the year to predict. I was that close to getting it right with Carson Hocevar in one of my bets earlier this weekend. But that race Sunday, what I liked about it was, number one, the pageantry. The Daytona 500 is great, right? The salute to the country and all of the different things that make the pageantry of sports amazing. It was great weather. They didn't have rain delays. And you know what kills a race in my mind, Diesel, is a rain delay. I mean, if we get all excited and hyped up for the Daytona 500 and then the rain comes, it's hard to get that motor going again.
And it was sitting on us all day on Saturday. It sucked.
All days. We sat there, and that's all I did Sunday was watch golf and NASCAR. But Tyler Reddick, just right place, right time, and then made a really good push right there at the end. It just goes to show, again, that race is all about what happens at the end. And if you're in position, you take it from a guy like Hocevar, who ran close to 30th almost the entire race, comes in the end and has a chance to win it before idiot Eric Jones spins him out. And then on the flip side, Kyle Busch, Diesel, who was the pole sitter and the Vegas odds-on favorite to win the race, ran pretty good at the start. But, man, what I loved about that race Sunday was the strategy. The pitch strategy really came into play, especially late. It was a lot of good racing for the most part during the race. The cars were bunched up the entire time. It was tight, a lot of 3 wide. And what I loved most, and I hope Dan B can agree with this, at the very end of the race, when all the action started happening in that final lap, when Hocevar wrecked and then 5 and others started wrecking, guess what they did? NASCAR let them run.
Let them race.
They let them race, didn't throw the caution. Thank God, because nothing blows the end of a race like throwing the yellow. And they let them race. That matters. I mean, of course, safety is important, right? But at the same time, man, you've raced all day to see who can hit it at the very end. And the fact that they let them race, I think getting that bozo out there has helped NASCAR. We talked about, a month ago when they got rid of the bozo, not CEO, but the guy that was running the sport. And I think it was a good race for those that, hey, if you're a basketball fan and you're a Michael Jordan fan and you all of a sudden are interested because Michael now has one more step on LeBron because LeBron's never won a Daytona 500 before and Michael Jordan has. I mean, that's Diesel. Do you know how many times I've seen that this weekend? LeBron hadn't won a Daytona 500.
Hey, and after going through all this stuff in the offseason and all his battles with NASCAR, for Michael Jordan Racing to come out and win the Daytona 500, that's huge. And that was a phenomenal last 6, 7, 8 lap stretch. It was so cool to see him essentially peeling off in block by block. It was such a good inning.
It really was. I enjoyed. I thought it was football is not here, and it was our first weekend without football, so it sucks. But at the same time, for not having football, you have to just make the most of it. And I thought for a non-football weekend, it was a really good sports weekend, from the college basketball to the college baseball. If all you care about is football, of course, you're going to hate life right now. But there was really, really good college baseball, really good college basketball, really good women's basketball. And I know women's basketball isn't everybody's cup of tea, but there's no football. And Sunday was the first Sunday in a long, long time without a football game on.
I'm glad you brought that up, Cole, because I was going to do the same thing. I was going to challenge our listeners. Dewey says everything sucks, and women's basketball sucks, and college baseball sucks, and off-season Major League Baseball sucks.
According to Dewey.
We got to get past that here, guys. This is a sports talk radio show. This is not just NFL and college football talk radio. It's going to get real boring over the next 4 or 5 months if you guys won't get into anything else other than those two sports. When we come back, Cole, there was some fireworks out there on the ice in the Olympics. I'm going to see if this will get you into this sport a little bit more. We'll jump into it next.
844-326-3663. That's 844-FAN-PHONE. This is Wire to Wire with Cole, Bryson, and Diesel on the Fan Upstate.
You can f*** off.
You haven't done it once?
I haven't done it once.
Okay. I'll show you a video after the game.
How is it that a country known for being the most polite country on earth is telling the Swedes to bleep off in the Olympics?
It's
is amazing.
What we need more of in the Olympics. If you want me to watch, need more fighting, right?
Hey, these guys could be fighting Cole with, I don't know, how much does a curling stone weigh? Like 40 pounds? They could be slinging around 40-pound chunks of granite.
I bet they can't pick it up. They don't look like the most muscular guys. They look more like
they got to carry them in on a
aesthetic.
dolly.
You know, they look athletic, but I don't know if those things look heavy, man.
They are. How much does a curling stone weigh?
I'd say at least 40. Your guess is 40. I'd say at least, maybe more.
So what happened, if you haven't seen this all over the internet, and you might not have seen it over the last 2 days, because NBC Peacock is scrubbing the internet and content claiming the original footage of this. I mean, I've seen so many people who had reposted this video where it says content not available because they've been taking it down. This happened in a Team Sweden versus Team Canada curling match where a Canadian curler named Mark Kennedy was double touching the stone. That sounds dirty, but he was double touching the stone, which is a no-no. You can't do it. So how much does a curling stone weigh?
38 to 46.
Okay.
38 to 46. So
it's like Major League Baseball field dimensions. Like, there's a suggestion. You kind of keep it around this. Dead center should be about that long or whatever. But you can kind of do what you want to do.
Legal.
Yeah. So what he was doing here, if you haven't watched a whole lot of curling before, again, it's like shuffleboard on ice. But when you release the stone, these guys start sliding from like 15 feet away.
Release the stone.
They slide up to something called the hog line. Why is it called the hog line? Don't know. And they release the stone. Now, it is illegal to touch the handle or the stone after the stone has crossed the hog line. And it's kind of like football, right? Where a touchdown is any part of the football crosses any part of the line, the goal line, that is a touchdown. It's the same thing. Any part of the stone touches any part of the hog line, you're not allowed to touch the stone anymore. But so he's sliding. He releases the handle and then gives it a little boop on the stone, which you're not allowed to boop the stone.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you can grip the handle, but you can't boop the stone.
Yeah.
So he did it. And apparently they were doing it often. And Oscar Eriksson from Sweden had a problem with it, starts calling him out. Here's the thing, Cole. You know my stance on sports. It's not a sport if there's no defense. I would have told you that curling is a sport because you can release the stone and make it stop in a way that can set up like a sort of a defensive wall against the other team from knocking your stones
Kinda
out
like
of the scoring
right?
area. Right. But here's the thing. Can it be a sport if there are no referees? Because there are technically no referees in curling. It's like one of those gentlemen's agreements.
Like golf.
Yeah. Well, no, there's referees in golf. It'd be like playing golf with your buddies.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So there are officials on the ice, but they kind of really operate under an honor system, and the referees just sort of oversee things. So they don't really do anything. Like if there's a sport that you could referee with a beer in your hand, is that really a sport?
And that sounds like cornhole. That's exactly what it sounds like, right? I mean, look, I like the controversy. I hadn't gotten into the Olympics a lot. I've told you that. I've talked about that, but I did see that video, and it's great. I think people are, for whatever reason, more attracted to, controversy.
And the sport needs this, right? It's been growing in popularity over the past 20 years, 15 years in the Olympics or so. But every sport needs that little thing that pushes it over the edge, and all of a sudden people are interested in it. Then you say, hey, where I live, we got a local hockey rink. What if we could put together a curling club? And then, it starts to take off. Especially
in these Olympics where you're playing for your country, right? I want to see people bowing up. I want to see fist fights. I do. I mean, if you want me to watch and tune in, I want to see it just get heated. That's what I want.
So again, I don't claim to be a curling expert, though I've watched a little bit of it over the years. what advantage does booping the stone a little
he
extra?
touched it with one finger.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know.
What does that give you? I mean, you can put spin on it by the way you release the handle. You're already you're already sliding down the ice at whatever, like 3 or 4 miles an hour, and you let go of the stone, it's going that speed. So, like, what advantage does doing that give you? I don't understand that part of it.
It's just a technicality, I guess. And maybe what do you like in baseball? An unwritten rule, maybe? Is that the way to
I
describe
guess
it?
You can't go over the hog line. Everyone knows that.
Everybody knows that. I mean, what is this guy doing? Get in the game, bozo. Speaking of bozo, there was a comment that made Paul Maneri look like a bozo over the weekend. Are we surprised by it? We'll get into that. Plus, an incredible, and I mean incredible opening weekend in college baseball. Did you hear about what the guy at Baylor did? Almost tying a record in the NCAA record books. We'll get into it. Clemson was strong. South Carolina also won the series, and they're back in action. One really, really close game in proximity tonight that features South Carolina and Wofford. We'll talk about it next.
tracks.
Electrifying sports talk from start to finish.
You're going wire to wire
With Diesel and Cole Bryson.
on the Fan Upstate.
Well, where do we start when it comes to college baseball and what happened this past weekend? An incredible weekend in the sport. If it's a sport that you don't follow as much, maybe you're a college football guy. I get it. I do. I love college football, but man, you got to start at least trying to give college baseball a look because it's so competitive. It feels pure. It's a lot of fun to watch. And you also have incredible storylines. Now, you won't turn on ESPN and see coverage of college baseball. It just doesn't happen, right? It's not going to happen on a consistent basis until the postseason arrives. We have Clemson. We have South Carolina, obviously, over the weekend. And Diesel, I don't know if anything tops what happened in Baylor. There was something that happened on opening night of college baseball that I thought was just the coolest story ever. Now, there's a guy. His name is Tice Armstrong. And again, not on ESPN this morning for whatever reason, but Tice Armstrong did something that has very rarely happened in college baseball for Baylor. Tice Armstrong plays for Baylor, Diesel, and he tied an NCAA record with a 3 Grand Slam performance in one game. 3 Grand Slams. Doesn't even break the record. It ties it in college baseball. You would think, 3 Grand Slams in one game. That's definitely the record. No, it ties it. So, again, point being, 3 Grand Slams in college baseball is unbelievable. You didn't see it anywhere on TV, any ESPN, any top show this morning or any time today. But that's an example of the coverage that this sport desperately needs and should get. Diesel, 1 Grand Slam is a feat by itself. 2 is rare, but 3? Come on. That's insane.
Huge. Yeah, he'll never have a game like that again in his life. He was just seeing the ball. It was the size of a ball coming into the strike zone. And how is it, Cole, that college baseball has continued to grow and grow and grow over the past couple of seasons, yet you don't find it, even on ESPN.com, the place that people go for sports coverage? You can't find it. Like, NCAA football has its own kind of splash page. Golf has its own. NHL, women's college basketball, Little League World Series has its own, but there is no college baseball splash page to find coverage. It's pathetic how little ESPN seems to care, even though they carry it.
They carry it, but they just don't cover it. And that's the thing. Like, at any other level, if that happened in the MLB, if an MLB player hit 3 Grand Slams in one day, it would be talked about on Get Up the next morning, on First Take the next morning, on Pat McAfee, on Rich Eisen, everywhere. And by the way, what Tice Armstrong did on Saturday, Diesel, or on Friday has only happened one other time in the history of college baseball. That's how rare what happened on Friday night was for that kid from Baylor. 3 Grand Slams. Again, it hadn't happened since 1957. That's how long it's been. It'll probably never happen again, 3 Grand Slams in one game. I'd be surprised if it does. But that's my point. You've got –
I just quit baseball right
there. Yeah, hang it up. You've got so many good stories, so many good players, so many good coaches in college baseball, including in this state. The college softball the same way. Gamecocks in the top 25 this week, and the softball top 25 that just came out. Baseball, Clemson had a big weekend. Let's start with Clemson, Diesel. A big weekend for the Tigers. A formidable Army team that comes in, and you know what? It's early in the season. We talked about it on Thursday and Friday. Clemson was coming in with some injuries, right? Some of their arms weren't going on Saturday and on this past weekend. But Clemson comes in, wins 3-2 on Friday in a close one. The first game on Saturday, they win in 8 innings, 10-0 over Army West Point. And then in the second game on Saturday, they shut them out again. 7-0 ball game. Clemson looked really, really good over the weekend, in large part due to their pitching. I know it's early. I know this is what we do. We overreact, right, to the first series in college baseball and make this big deal of how good this team is or how bad this team is. But before we get into what's happening in the future, Clemson with a really strong opening weekend, and most of it for me, Diesel, is because of what they were able to do on the mound this past weekend.
Yeah, and how about that viral moment that was out there with the Army West Point players going into the stands to do what Clemson does at their home games and salute the military personnel that were in the crowd. Army's players jumped out there to do the same thing. Clemson presented them with that
was awesome. That
baseball bat artwork
that was so
in
cool.
the shape of an American flag.
I love it,
with
man.
inscriptions on the bat. I mean, it was a phenomenal way to start the season. You want to see more of that.
How good was Clemson's arms? Clemson's pitching staff in 3 games versus Army, and we'll talk more about this in the 5 o'clock hour with Grayson Mann of TigerNet.com. Listen to this. Clemson's staff in 3 games, 2 runs allowed, 0 on Saturday, 2 walks allowed, 0 on Saturday. By the way, they played 2 games Saturday. 34 strikeouts, and 72.3% of pitches for strikes. That is 256 of 354 pitches were strikes. I'm not saying let's overreact to one weekend, but the arms, we know Clemson has one of the better aces in the country in Aiden Canuck. But the arms, if they're that consistent and they're getting guys back and they're able to stay healthy, this Clemson team, I think one of the things they've lacked majorly over the past few years has been their ability to be dominant across the board into Saturday, into Sunday, into the bullpen. And again, one weekend, things could change drastically. Next weekend, things could change tonight. They could come out tonight, Diesel, and Charlotte could score 10 runs. But as good as that pitching staff looked, I think that that's probably where you feel best about if you're a Clemson fan heading into the second week of college baseball.
Yeah, and the fact that they did it against a team that, number one, a lot of these guys stick around, right? Like you don't transfer out from Army very often. They played in the Patriot League last year. They could put up some runs. Like I'm looking at 15 runs, 7 runs, 11. They had the ability to really put the ball into play and put runners across the plate last year. So they didn't do it against the best competition in the world, but hey, any team that can go out there and score 8, 9, 10, 15 runs a night, that's a team that that kind of offensive production kind of lasts from year to year to year.
Also, it's cool to hear from the Army coach. You mentioned what Clemson did from a standpoint of hospitality with Army and giving them that gift. And Eric Backich talked about it as well, but the Army coach, Diesel, said after the game, he said, I don't want to say above and beyond, but you can tell it's ingrained into the program. Talking about Eric Backich. And you know what, man? Like, that's one thing that you don't see as much in college baseball. And we've talked about their tradition that they do each and every time. But the way that they embrace that, for a program to embrace the country and the world we live in now where it's just so divided, I love it. I think the veterans that go to those games, Army baseball, loved it. And Eric Backich just praised Army for not their baseball team, but for what they do and why they're there, right? But Clemson's baseball, their arms were historic on Saturday. Diesel, listen to this. Also, Clemson baseball's back-to-back shutout wins versus Army give the Tigers consecutive shutouts for the first time since 2020 when they shut out Stony Brook back-to-back. So you're talking about a 6-year span there. Whereas dominant as their arms were, Clemson's back-to-back shutout again gave them the first consecutive shutout since 2020. It was also Clemson's first double-header shutout since 2001, where they beat New York Tech 13-0 and 14-0.
Yeah, those baseball powerhouses at New York
Tech. Did you even know that was a school? Did you even know that existed?
Take a guess at what the New York Tech mascot is.
I don't think they have one. It's a technical college. Do technical colleges get mascots?
Louisiana Tech, Virginia Tech.
I don't think that. No way.
Georgia
it's that
Tech.
size. No, I think it's a small Spartanburg Tech size school, right? New York Tech. I've never heard of them.
I'm going to guess the Sewer Rats. No, they're the Bears.
Oh, that
Bears.
makes sense. Yeah. New York Bears.
Totally.
Great sense there. Now, on the flip side of things, before we flip over to South Carolina, Clemson in action tonight, Tuesday, February 17th, 4 o'clock. It just started, I believe, just a few minutes ago. They are hosting Charlotte. So that game underway. We will keep you updated on that one throughout the show. And it should be over around the time that we go off the air. So
yeah,
that'll be interesting.
Charlotte started the season 1-2. Cole, they are hit or miss. Truthfully, they lost their first game against San Diego at home,
Yeah.
4-7. They followed that up with a 13-0 win in the second game, and then they fell 14-4 in the third game. So they've got major inconsistencies across their starting lineup right now. They cannot stop anybody from scoring.
On the flip side, South Carolina Diesel in town right here in the upstate in Spartanburg tonight. They are at Fifth Third Park in a game that starts in about an hour and 20 minutes. Tolos, if you're going to the game tonight, if you're headed that way now over in Spartanburg, let us know at 844-326-3663. First of all, it's awesome that they're playing Wofford in Spartanburg. I don't know that we've ever seen South Carolina come to like Wofford, but maybe in the past a few times, a handful of times. But the fact that they're showcasing Fifth Third Park tonight is going to be a lot of fun. Wofford's such a formidable baseball program and what they've done over the past few years. It's a midweek game, but I still think Wofford could be in this game late tonight. South Carolina, though, over the weekend, Diesel gets a 5-2 win over Northern Kentucky on Friday in Game 1, a 6-5 on a walk-off from KJ Scobie in Game 2 on Friday night, and then Saturday drops Game 3 to Northern Kentucky 3-2. But for whatever reason, the big storyline is not it's not the games. It's what Paul Mainieri said. And I don't know if you've seen this or not, but the biggest story over the weekend was Paul Mainieri saying that this team was basically tired in opening weekend. And, I'm not a college baseball expert by any means, but David Cloninger of the Post and Courier tweeted this out, and it was a quote. Paul Mainieri said, a lot of guys were tired from 18 innings yesterday. They made the decision to not take BP on the field, but in the cage, hoping to preserve legs. He also went on to say, I didn't have them ready to play today. Diesel, as you can imagine, this quote did not go over well with Gamecock fans on social media.
No. What does that mean, Paul? Does that mean you didn't get them through a good enough strength and conditioning program in the offseason? I mean, come on. You're only in your opening weekend, okay? Like, this is not the middle of the season. The weather is not 98 degrees with 75, 85% humidity. Like, tired should not be factoring in at this point.
And my other concern is in the quote, and a lot of people aren't talking about this, but if you go back to what I said, Paul said they made the decision to not take BP on the field, but in the cage. Who is they? Excuse me? What do you mean they? Oh, aren't you the coach, Paul? Like, that blows my mind that Paul Mainieri, the head coach, and even Monty Lee doesn't step in and like, this is what we're doing. This is structure. This is what we do. The players decide that their legs are too tired and they're going to go to the cage to take BP. They don't want to do it in the field. 18 innings was a lot of baseball. It blows my mind. It blows my mind that a head coach, Diesel, of an SEC program says this out loud. Look, we had Paul on a couple of weeks ago. At one time, he was a really good coach, national championship level coach, right? But it's getting to the point where it's just embarrassing. Like, that Paul is embarrassing the program right now.
Maybe he's throwing around the words tired really as code in the media to say, hey, our effort was lackadaisical and I need you guys to step it up. Coaches all the time will say things, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here, trying to make some sense out of what he had to say. Maybe he's saying that I really want to have a player-led team and I want them to take ownership of what we're doing out here early. So I'm going to give them, the right to be a little more proactive in decision-making. I other than that, I couldn't tell you why.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you why he would say something like this.
The problem is, Diesel, they're 18 years old. They're 19 years old. They're 20 years old. They're 21 years old. Like, we're not talking about 30, 40-year-old guys out there our age. We're talking about young kids. I've seen kids go play back-to-back-to-back basketball games during the summer, run, and we're too tired. We're going to go take BP in the cage. Opening day was literally like yesterday, the day before they played, and they're all ready. And then you come out and say, I didn't have them ready to play. I'm just sitting there hearing that and reading that quote thinking, it doesn't feel like this guy has his finger on the program, the pulse of the program. Like, where is the pulse right now?
This does feel like one of those things, though, that if the season goes really off the rails, this is one of those quotes that gets looked back on by Jeremiah Donati. You know,
it's going to linger.
Right. If he's already made the decision and we think this is probably going to happen to move on from Lamont Paris, if he makes that decision and the baseball season, ends, and you've got a couple months after you've already just fired Lamont Paris, you say to yourself, well, why are we keeping this guy around too? He doesn't have any control over it. It's not that, it's not, and the season's still very young. It's not that there's discipline issues going on and things are just getting out of control in that way, but it just shows that like maybe he's not all that invested.
Well, I also think eventually it's a reflection on Jeremiah Donati too. Eventually, like we had this conversation last week jokingly with Dewey. Remember, he called in and he was upset with Jeremiah Donati. But the reality is Jeremiah Donati, like, I don't think it's his job, Diesel, to come in and clean house immediately, right? And a lot of these guys, very, very few of them were his hires. So you don't just come in and flip it. New coach. But at some point, I do think it's tough. And right now, the athletic program at South Carolina is spiraling down. It is. It's just spiraling down, and I think the only person that can save it is Shane Beamer. And they have to have a good season. The basketball program, they're awful. And tonight, if they just get blown out by Florida, you talked about the basketball coach, that guy, I mean, that the leash couldn't be shorter for that guy. So I just think, like, while I'm not saying Jeremiah Donati's a great AD, I think still time will tell. But at the same time, what other AD in the country has walked into a situation that he walked into? I mean, it wasn't a great situation that he walked into. And Shane Beamer had a good year 2 seasons ago, right? Almost made the college football playoff. But at some point, you've got to start making change. And I think change will come.
If you're Jeremiah Donati, does it feel like you got flim-flammed, right? Like you were coming into this program thinking football is on the rise. We just had a really good season. Basketball is on the rise. Lamont Paris just had a really good season. You show up and then everything just goes down the drain.
Well, you're probably sitting there thinking, man, what was Ray Tanner doing? Right? What was that guy doing? Was he working? Did he have his feet propped up? And I'd say that kind of half jokingly. I like Ray. He's always been good to me when I've been down there at South Carolina. But you just look at these things, and like you said, I think they'll linger. I do think they'll linger. South Carolina in action tonight in Spartanburg, and unfortunately to the texter Tolo JB team, no, we don't have any tickets, unfortunately for you. I don't know what they run. I don't know if they're expensive tonight for the game at Fifth Third Park or not, but it is a 5:30 first pitch in Spartanburg. Like I said, Tolos, if you are heading out, let us know. Let us know if you're going to the game, 844-326-3663.
We'd love to have a little check-in from you during the game.
It would also be, look, Wofford's a good team, but like the worst thing you want to happen right now is drop a midweek to Wofford. You just don't. And look, in a big picture, that's not a bad loss because Wofford's good. Like they've won their tournament. They're a good baseball team with really good baseball players. But at the same time, perception is very important right now. And perception's not always reality, but perception is important right now for this Gamecock baseball program.
Well, speaking of those lingering questions, Tolos, if you have any lingering college basketball questions, now would be a great time to text them in at 844-326-3663 because we'll have on Rocco Miller of Bracketeer.org next. Well, it was a rainy weekend here in South Carolina, real life weather wise. Also, a lot of sad faces if you're a Palmetto basketball fan this weekend. Clemson and South Carolina both taking it on the chin to talk all things college basketball. We're joined, as we are every week, by Rocco Miller from Bracketeer.org. Rocco, it's Diesel here. You know, we've seen from Clemson these last two games with the back-to-back losses at home to Virginia Tech and then on the road at Duke. It really underscores what you and all the Bracketeers have been saying about this team. They're consistent, but they're flawed. They need 4 or 5 guys to give them 10 points a night to have a chance to win, and that hasn't happened these last 2 games. How much does showing the committee what they already thought about them hurt Clemson in the seeding process when you got people's opinions deciding seeding?
Well, I think there's a lot to that. I think, first of all, with Clemson, one thing we studied a lot last year was these new super conferences with the addition of Stanford and California joining the ACC, for example, in their unique case. Obviously, they have the 4 West Coast teams in the Big Ten. And the thing that we found over the summer was that the travel to the West is not necessarily about the games you play in the West. It's about that first game when you get back. And I think and not to make excuses for the Tigers, but I was not shocked to see that their poorest performance of the season came in that first game back after playing so well out here in the West Coast. We saw it last year with Wake Forest when they lost at home to Florida State. There's numerous examples from the Big Ten last year as well. And so it's just interesting. And I would hope the committee maybe talks about that for a second. If Clemson's in a in-between spot between maybe a 6, 7, 8 seed, which is where they're floating around right now. But I think in general, Brad Brownell was probably disappointed with the defensive effort that night. The Hokies, of course, put up a good amount of points, more than Clemson's used to giving up. And I think so much of what Clemson does well is just getting stops. And it's harder to get stops when you don't have your 100% legs under you. So from my observation from afar, that was part of it. I do think, we're in an interesting part of the season, right, where we're deep into February. We're just 3 weeks or so away from these conference tournaments beginning, and we've got about 6 games to go. So with Clemson, you look at the Wake Forest road game coming up tomorrow, very winnable, and they need that one, I think, just to get right. You shake off that Duke game where they were just a little overwhelmed, tried to stay in there in the fight, lose by 13 in the end. And Wake Forest is a team kind of teetering, trying to decide if they're going to stay in the fight long term, or, you might be able to catch them on a night where they get overwhelmed by the Clemson suffocating defense. And then you have Florida State, who's improving, in Louisville at home. So, and a road trip to Carolina. So the next 4 are really critical, in my opinion, because Clemson's in this part of the bracket where there's about 10 to 11 teams between a 6 to an 8 seed that are very difficult to separate. And so whichever team can step up and go 3-1 in this next week, or maybe 4-0 and add some big wins, will really start to separate themselves from the pack. Because I think the last thing Clemson wants, and in my projection on Monday, they're in an 8-9 game. And no fan of any team wants to be in an 8-9 game. Obviously, you have the least percentage chance to advance to the Sweet 16 from that position. There's only about a 9% chance to advance from an 8-9 game, as the 1 seeds get into the Sweet 16 about 91% of the time in the last 40 years. So the goal is to get up to back into that 6-7 mix and maybe work your way to a 5 seed if it all goes perfectly.
Rocco, there are obviously plenty of Brad Brownell critics out there, but, we've talked about it this year a lot. You've talked about it. Diesel and I have as well. They don't have the guard play that, in my opinion, is going to allow them to make a deep postseason run. They don't have a guy they can just give it to and say, hey, go get points, go get a basket. When you look at the season, though, while there have been Brad Brownell critics start to appear lately because they've dropped 2 in a row, my kind of take on it right now, I guess my observation is, man, I actually think the opposite of what a lot of people think. I think this has been one of Brad Brownell's better coaching jobs, because all season long, in my opinion, he's done more with less. Where do you stand on that?
Yeah, I like that outlook. I mean, I think he's been able to get these guys bought in a style of play that's probably not the most fun to play, but they use their size and physicality and attention to detail and they're really, really focused and locked in and prepared in most of their outings. Now, obviously, I gave them a little bit of an out with that Virginia Tech result because of the travel situation, but I think you're right. Yeah, and I do think when you've seen them up against Duke or in a couple of these other matchups, even when BYU rallied and had a full-strength team in the Garden, they were limited. And if it comes down to making jump shots or even having to depend on three-point shooting, it's an uphill battle for the Tigers for sure. But there is a path to winning in terms of, just stymieing the other team and getting them out of rhythm and then trying to hold on for 40 minutes. And the amount of times they've been successful at that, it's been impressive. And certainly a tournament berth this year is really kind of indicative of all the hard work that went into trying to win against, like you said, if you had to rank the entire ACC 18 teams, right, by talent alone, Clemson's probably in the bottom half. So to be able to overachieve and really be in that top four still is a testament to all the work they've put in.
Rocco, trying to rebuild a program in right now modern day SEC basketball is kind of like trying to roller skate up a mountain. If South Carolina chooses to move on from Lamont Paris at the end of this season, number one, what type of coach do they need to go after to be able to come up a little bit in the SEC? And are there any guys that you kind of like for that role? I'm a big fan of, I know he's brand new in head coaching, but Flynn Clayman at High Point. I just don't know if they're going to be willing, the fan base is going to be willing to take another risk on a mid-major up-and-comer.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. That's a good name to throw in the mix as well. I'm a fan of what he's doing as well. I think so much of it is money related, and I just don't see a path right now unless there's information I'm not privy to where South Carolina is suddenly going to be in the top half of the SEC in spending. So I think what you would need to do is have a coach that's proven to work hard and do more with less. And I mean, Paris, coming into the job, and obviously he had the one really good year. I thought he was a good fit for that. And maybe he still is. I think he works really hard at it. It's just tough when in the SEC you're overwhelmed almost every night. And maybe there's no way getting around that. But I think, you can find some guys that out in New Mexico, Eric Olin right now, he's at UC San Diego in the last 21 years. And then this year at New Mexico, he continues to find guys. And South Carolina has one of his transfers this year. And so yeah, it's interesting that's a guy who could probably win with his system with less talented players, right? So that would be a name, but I think he's just not a good fit for the region. I don't think he's done anything in South Carolina. He was raised in Alabama. But a guy with that type of mold, right, where you can win unconventionally with different systematic principles and really out game plan the other coach. The problem is in the SEC, you got to play a lot of these teams twice, and certainly by the conference tournament, you're playing them for at least the second time. They start figuring you out pretty quick because the coaching in the league is so sharp, and there's such athletic advantages for the teams at the top. Like, you can know how to stop Florida's front court and have their entire system studied, but does that mean you can put a team out there and stop that front court this year? No, nobody in the league can, and Florida's daring everybody to stop them, and nobody can. And so it's just such a different level because at South Carolina, you might just be hoping to try to make the tournament, and if you get a good coach, you can do that. But I don't know about advancing very far in this day and age right now because these teams at the top of the sport are just so darn deep and loaded, and they'll dare you to stop them, and most of the time you can't.
We're talking to Rocco Miller, Bracketeer.org, talking college hoops right here on the Fan Upstate. Rocco, we saw, man, you hate to see him midseason, but Jerome Tang let go over the weekend, Kansas State. And I don't know if you heard the commentary from Greenberg and others over the weekend. I believe it was yesterday I listened to it on one of the college basketball shows on ESPN, but my goodness, there were a lot of critics toward Kansas State. Where do you stand on it? Obviously, with it being out toward Kansas, it's a name that those here in the South really aren't as familiar with, but a weird situation as just 4 days after, what many would say was a big point this season for Kansas State. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it was surprising to see it happen early. You know, it reminded me a little bit of college football, which I know you guys talk about all the time down there, where all those coaches were leaving early in the season. That was kind of our first big one in college basketball this year at a major school. And, of course, Jerome Tang's only in his fourth year. His first year, I covered him out at Madison Square Garden in their run to the Elite Eight. Kansas State basketball was in the best place ever at the time. But you look back on that, those players were there for him to just maintain and keep. And so when he was tasked with building his own roster, there's a lot of guys they took chances on in the portal the last couple of years that did not pan out. They had some extremely embarrassing losses at home this year, and especially lately, you know, losing at home to Kansas was the start of it. Obviously, no big embarrassment there because that happens often. But when they lost by 30 plus to Iowa State, by almost 30 against not a great Cincinnati team, I think that was the game where, you know, the press conference happened where he said everybody was going to get up at 6 a.m. and have to practice. They took the names off the jerseys. Yeah. They actually didn't even give them their jerseys back. So I think it just led down the spiral. And the thing was for Kansas State, they had $18 million if they're going to end up having to pay the buyout. If they waited another year and they already know he's not the guy, then they got to pay him $12 million next year for a buyout. So they ripped the Band-Aid off early because it was only a $6 million savings waiting another season. And it tells me they probably already have a guy in mind. I think the hot name, of course, is Josh Schertz from St. Louis. I don't know if they can get him because I think Schertz is the top of the board at a lot of places, whether it's Cincinnati, if that opens, or even like a place like Oregon in the Big Ten, if it were to open, or an LSU. So we have to wait and see what jobs open from here. But Kansas State will certainly be attractive for a lot of up-and-coming coaches. There's, you know, some other good names too. Like if Murray State finished strong, it would be a natural fit for Ryan Miller to go there, who's from the area. There's some other sitting coaches as well, like Chris Jans at Mississippi State, that could take interest. They have a past experience at Kansas State, know the area, know how to recruit there. So it'll be an interesting job search, but I think within a couple of weeks they won't be the number one job on the market any longer.
Talking to Rocco Miller of Bracketeer.org. Rocco, what do you make of South Alabama's zone defense that they never, ever break from defensively? It's obviously working for them in the Sun Belt, but the Sun Belt doesn't have a lot of prolific three-point shooters that will shoot over them and hit them consistently. Does a defense like that, in your mind, get completely exposed in the NCAA tournament when they would likely face maybe a Michigan or a Duke, teams that can really hit the three?
Yeah. I mean, they would be in trouble in a game like that for sure.
For a lot of reasons.
Yeah, right. I had the luxury of calling their games down in St. Petersburg at the start of the year when they played Central Michigan, and they won the tournament. They played Central Michigan and Coppin and got to see it firsthand. You're right. It's so extreme, but it's exactly how they've always played. You know, he has a lot of newcomers this year, but they worked at that zone starting in like June of last year. So they've really fine-tuned it. There's zero chance that they're abandoning it now. This is like a staple in their program. The numbers are extreme in terms of three-point attempts for opponents. South Alabama leads the country by a huge percentage. It's kind of laughable if you like numbers to look at that. But yeah, I think obviously it's working to a degree to where they're in this mix now for the Sun Belt race. I think 4 teams are tied once again at the top after South Alabama fell yesterday. So it'll be interesting because I mean, we don't know who's going to come out of that conference tournament. It's a crazy bracket with 7 days of basketball and tons of buys. I think the top 2 teams get 5 buys. The top and third and fourth place will get 4 buys. But yeah, like I generally would agree with that. If they get into the dance and they play a team like in Alabama in a 5, it wouldn't be a 5-12. They're closer to like a 15 seed. So they would probably have to play like a Purdue or just somebody that could drown them quickly. But it would be fascinating, you know, because if the team they play does not connect on threes early in the game, you know how those NCAA tournament games go, segment to segment. If they're still hanging around, it's going to get dicey for the big favorite.
Rocco, you mentioned a minute ago when talking about Jerome Tang, other coaches that could be on their way out soon or in the next few weeks. Let's talk about it. Hot seat conversation. Do you see any more being let go before the season comes to an end? If not, who are the ones that you think will be first to go when the season does conclude?
Yeah, well, it seems like it's trending that I don't want to, I like all these guys. We're all friends, so I don't want to put anybody in a bad spot. But I think, just being realistic, this is more about the ADs and the agents, right? So LSU is obviously one with McMahon. It seems like that's run its course. They're 2-10 in the SEC right now. It's not looking good for him to get another year. My question there is they just spent so much money on Lane Kiffin. They pay the women's coach a ton of money. They care about baseball. Like, you could argue they care about baseball more than men's basketball there. So
Sure.
I'm just curious, like, who would they even want to hire, or who would even want the job? Obviously, there's still a good number of people that would. It's just a matter of how much money do they want to pour into it? Because, like with South Carolina, which again, that you could add them to the list. We don't know what's going to happen in Columbia. It's all about who you can get and can you upgrade. There's been talks at Oklahoma about Porter Moser. They're 3-9 in the league, playing much. They had a great week last week, blew out Georgia, had the big win over Vandy before that. So we'll see how that plays out. I haven't been hearing much the last couple of weeks, but for a while it had seemed like maybe it would make sense if Josh Schertz does leave St. Louis. Of course, St. Louis, the hot story across college basketball at 23-1. It would be a safe landing spot for Porter to go back to the Midwest. A little bit more into the Midwest, let's say, to take the St. Louis job, what we call parachuting in college basketball, much like what Andy Enfield did when he went from USC to SMU. Tons of examples of it. So in the SEC, those are the three I think that I'm looking at. There's a small chance Chris Jans, like if he is serious about Kansas State, that could be one that could happen. I would hate to see that for Mississippi State. I think he's been great there. He's going to 3 straight tournaments. Obviously this year, a little bit of a down year. Over in the Big Ten, I think Rutgers is one to watch. They have a large buyout for Steve Pikiell. Steve Pikiell's been the best coach I think Rutgers has ever had. So it's a tough one. But obviously they have so much money invested. They do not want to go through another season like this. They're currently 10-15 and 3-11 in the league. Oregon's been riddled with injuries. It's a big time job if it opens. Dana Altman's been a legend. He's been around for 3 decades between Creighton and Oregon. But they're 2-12, 9-16. Might be a good time for a break if he does step down or step aside. If that opens, that's one I'm seriously thinking Josh Schertz would have to say yes to. They just have so many resources at that school. And so those are the two I'm looking at for the Big Ten. And over in the Big 12, Arizona State's the name, right? We've been thinking and hearing about Bobby Hurley for 11 years. He's had like 11 lives there. I don't know how he's still the coach. I know he loves it there. 2 of his kids graduated there. But every year is turmoil. This is another non-tournament season for the Sun Devils. And so that's certainly another one, along, of course, with Kansas State being open already, that I would expect to open. And the other obvious one is Cincinnati. And Cincinnati's one where a strong name for that would be Jared Calhoun from Utah State. He's an Ohio guy. I think that makes all the sense in the world if Cincinnati moves on from Wes Miller to hire Jared Calhoun from Utah State.
Rocco, we won't get to talk to you again until after this big matchup coming up this weekend, but we had a Matt on our stream message in earlier asking about Duke, Michigan this Saturday in D.C. Have you got any pregame thoughts about that one? Have you got a winner in mind?
I haven't done a full breakdown, but I would just say I've watched the teams play a bunch of times now. I think Michigan has more upside. Duke's got a way higher floor, of course, because they can defend so well. If they're locked in and focused defensively, I think Michigan's kind of due for a slip up. Now, you got to keep in mind, Michigan's playing Purdue on the road tonight. So much of college basketball is game-to-game momentum, and it's all about how you respond from the previous game. So I think if Michigan falls tonight, I would take Michigan to beat Duke. I can't. This team is way too good, and the coaching staff's way too sharp to envision them losing twice in the same week. So I'm going to take Michigan if they lose tonight. On the flip side, if Michigan goes into Purdue, gets the big win, has a nice celebration, it might be a good thing for them to just take a loss to Duke on Saturday. So watch that game tonight, and then remember what I said there.
Rocco, you're the best, man. As always, appreciate your time, and we will talk to you next week, man.
My pleasure, fellas. Looking forward to it.
Rocco Miller, Bracketeer.org. My goodness, he's so good, man. He's the best. I'm telling you. Best college basketball guest from a national perspective I think you'll find. I'm not just saying that because he comes on our show.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Every bit of this information just off the top of his
Off
head.
the top. A lot of big-time stories from the weekend. It's our Daily Wires next.
on the Fan Upstate.
So much happening in the sports world. We have a segment where we hit those topics every day called the Daily Wires. It's the buzz that's happening. Clemson baseball back in action today, happening right now. where they've already had some big-time action, a grand slam. How about that? Clemson with a big lead over Charlotte. We were just talking about grand slams a minute ago. Jacob Jarrell, grand slam. Must have heard us talking about it, Diesel. Big outing.
Got to get in on the action.
And obviously they had the 3-game sweep over Army this weekend. If Jacob Jarrell can grand slam 2 more times today, he's going to tie the record. Can he do it?
Well, he's going to have to do it 3 more times to do more.
To tie it, he'd have to do it 2, 3 more times to break it. I don't know if it'll happen. South Carolina Pulmonary back in action here in about, 45 minutes at Fifth Third Park in Spartanburg. They had a 2-1 series win over Northern Kentucky over the weekend, and let's see what happens tonight between them and the T-Dogs. Wofford be a big one. 2 MMA legends, Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano, will fight on May 16th at the Intuit Dome. It's promoted by Jake Paul's Most Valuable Promotions. The bout will be 5-minute rounds and will be streamed on Netflix. Neither fighter has appeared professionally since 2016.
You ever wanted to watch 2 40-year-old women beat each other up? That's kind of what this is going to be.
Not really. That's
I don't know how old.
Yeah,
Gina Carano's got to be approaching 40.
That's wild to hear. In case you missed it, 2 FCS teams have announced they'll make the jump to FBS in the past few days. North Dakota State. I love this, Diesel. North Dakota State will join the Mountain West, and Sacramento State will join the MAC, a school more than 2,000 miles from its nearest conference opponent. How about that?
God.
They're paying $18 million, by the way, as an entry fee.
The MAC will gladly take that money.
Ooh,
yeah, and they're going to pay for the travel, too.
$1 million.
Yeah.
Ooh. By the way, no ruling has been made after Joey Aguilar's Friday hearing in Tennessee court regarding his 2026 eligibility, so-called Pavia rule.
If only they had a Tennessee alum on the bench.
It's the judge.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know.
I'm with.
That's all they need.
That is so bad to say, but it's true. The other 2 court cases did. Why don't this one, right? UNC head coach Hubert Davis says Caleb Wilson is inching towards returning soon. That's mind-boggling. He fractured his hand against Miami. Hasn't played since. Now wearing a cast. Can you play with a fractured hand? We're about to find out, right?
He's practicing. They need him back out there.
They need him. My goodness, that's a little risky. Providence senior forward Duncan Powell suspended for 3 games for combative actions. I don't know what hard foul.
Have you seen this foul?
No.
Oh,
it's bad.
Yeah.
It ignited the brawl, Diesel.
The St. John's point guard was breaking away. He was going up for a layup, and Powell's a big dude, right?
Yeah.
He gets up, and his chest is at the other player's head level. He basically just grabs his head around both sides of his head and neck area and yanks him down.
And what's wrong with that?
It's a no-no. He touched the stone after crossing the hog line.
Evidently so.
Yeah, you
That's
can't
bad.
do that.
6 players were ejected, by the way.
Yeah.
In that game, Scotty Scheffler nearly completed another massive comeback, finishing T4 in the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am this past weekend. He followed up round 1 with 72. He followed up a round 1 72 with a 66, 67, and 63 in his final 3 rounds. Colin Morikawa finished first at 22 under overall. Minwoo Lee was right behind him. How about that? A big weekend for him. The Genesis Invitational at the Riviera Country Club in Pacific Palisades, California, starts Thursday. I don't know. Is that as big? That's not quite as big as Pebble Beach, right?
No.
Ludwig,
it's a lower level tournament.
Ludwig Aberg won last year. We are less than a month away from the beginning of the Players' Championship.
That's the first biggie of the year.
That's the big one. And I tell you what, I know that Pebble Beach isn't huge, but I thought that was a great tournament. It was.
And Pebble Beach is a legendary course.
It's pretty, man.
Yeah.
It's pretty. So fun to watch it. God, you just wish you were out there.
I played it on PlayStation, but
did you know how windy, though, it was? My gosh. Scotty's clothes were coming off. It was so windy. The Charlotte Hornets Diesel winners of 10 of their last 11.
The Charlotte what's?
Hornets.
Oh.
Hornets. Let's see. They're hosting the Rockets tonight, who they beat 109 to 99 on the road 12 days ago. Can they beat the Rockets twice in 2 weeks? We'll find out.
The Rockets are really good.
Team USA men's hockey went undefeated in Group A and finished atop its pool. They will get a bye into the quarterfinals. They'll face the winner of Latvia versus Sweden matchup. That matchup's today, right?
Yep.
USA Silver took USA took silver in the men's speed skating team pursuit final today. It's effectively, that's what we were talking about earlier, right? The long-term team relay, like a NASCAR almost.
Yep.
Really cool there. Also, Norway leads the gold medal race, 13 golds to Italy's 9 and USA 6. In case you missed it, Marcell Ozuna, talked about this last week a little bit. Marcell Ozuna, now a Pittsburgh Pirate. He agreed to a 1-year, $12 million contract. And an NCAA men's action tonight, Michigan, Purdue, big one. South Carolina, Florida, not big one. North Carolina, NC State,
Medium.
might be, somewhere in the middle.
One.
And last one for you. Tyler Reddick, Daytona 500 winner. He talked about it after victory lane. He said, I'm going to be honest, I'm not even sure what happened. I was so focused in the moment, and I haven't even seen the tape yet. But here's what I've learned from the two bosses that I have. You want to be in position to win when it's time to win. And guess what? You wanted Michael Jordan, now a Daytona 500 champion. Diesel, how about that?
I love it, Colin. I've got an opinion on what happens after the Daytona 500 that I think is absolutely idiotic. I'll get into it in my overreaction Monday on a Tuesday. Next, need you Tolos to jump on the phone lines as well. Light them up, 844-326-3663. What have you got to say? What have you got to overreact about? That's next. it's a challenge, I guess, to go out and play a doubleheader on opening weekend if you're Pulmonary's South Carolina baseball team. It's also a challenge to see if Dewey can go an entire phone call without saying that something sucks. And we're going to find that out here in just a minute. Dewey's going to be up first, but Tolos, I want you to get out your phones right now and call 844-326-3663. It's Tuesday. Yesterday we weren't here. Yesterday was Monday. Every Monday, the phone lines light up for Overreaction Monday. So we're just time shifting that by 24 hours, and I need you to call us at 844-326-3663. What have you got to say about what you saw this weekend in the sports world? Call up now and let's talk about it. Dewey, welcome to the show.
Y'all need to be fired.
Can you do it, Dewey? Can you go an entire phone call without saying that something sucks?
I can do anything I put my mind to. That's what the Bible says.
Except tie your shoes.
Well, I'm still trying to learn.
That's what Velcro's
I have
for.
loafers and flip-flops.
Gotcha. What do you got?
But anyways, first of all, Clemson, you're going to the NIT. You're not even going to the big dance.
Oh.
That was a pitiful performance against Duke. But Duke is better than y'all, so that's just how that works out. Anyways, Pulmonary, you're tired. You're a tired old man.
Why? What's
That is so unacceptable for you to say such travesty. You should have been fired as soon as you got done talking to the media. That just tell the media your team is tired and you didn't have them prepared. That's on you. So you're terrible. That's going to tell you how terrible South Carolina's baseball is going to be this year. So they're going to get swept by Walford, I bet you.
Dewey, what part of the Bible does you can do anything you put your mind to come from?
I don't know.
I don't know that that's in the Bible. I think that was in the Reading Rainbow theme song.
Mom told you that.
Just take a look.
Your third grade teacher told you that.
It's Reading Rainbow.
Well, my teacher told me I could do anything I want. I put my mind to it.
Anything else, Dewey?
But anyways, yeah.
Whoa. What was that in the background?
Dewey's got dogs?
What was that noise?
The dogs.
What kind of dogs are they?
They're pit bulls and a Rottweiler.
Rottweiler?
Are they yours?
No, they're the neighbors. I'm about to go shoot them.
Oh, my God.
Dewey, you shouldn't joke about that. That's not nice.
Oh.
That is mean.
Okay, thanks, Dewey.
Thanks, Dewey.
God.
Hey, by the way, quick news from Pete Thamel 5 minutes ago. The Pete Thamel.
Not a Pete Thamel.
No,
Pete
not
Thamel.
the Pete Thamel. Western Michigan hiring Furman defensive coordinator Dwayne Vaughn as the school's new co-defensive coordinator and linebackers coach. He's been at Furman for the past 7 years as DC right here in Greenville. So losing one to Western Michigan.
Well, that's unfortunate for the Paladins. Cole, I'm going to get my overreaction out there because I want Dan B's opinion on it. Dan B is on the line, so hang on for just a second, Dan. I think this is a terrible move and a terrible precedent. Why does NASCAR take away the Daytona 500 winner's car so that they can display it for a year? That is idiotic. Like, I get that cars get broken down, they get set up for different tracks, that maybe the engine gets rebuilt or the chassis gets overhauled. But number one, taking away a team's car, especially if it's a smaller team, costs that team upwards of $400,000 to replace it. It's a financial hit. That car presumably could be reused for other super speedway tracks because it's a good car. At the very least, they could reuse it at Daytona in August for the Coke Zero 400. Like, you put it on display, people want to come see the car that won the 500. That's great. But I think it is idiotic, Cole, to take away the winner's car.
I've never honestly even thought about it until you brought it up. I've never even thought about it. I don't know that I have a strong opinion on it. Where does it go to? Does it go to a museum?
I'd assume it stays on site there for a fight. I mean, and how many people, truthfully, they would know this. I'm just asking the question. How many people come to Daytona to see the 500 winning car?
Yeah, I don't know. I never thought about it. Never knew about it. I don't know that I have like a strong opinion on it other than it's I don't know that it's a horrible thing, a great thing either. I don't know. Let's see what Dan B says. Dan B is a NASCAR guy. Dan, what's your opinion on it?
Yeah, I guess I had known about that a few years back. I never gave it any thought. It does seem like it would be a disadvantage.
Yeah.
To that team, especially a smaller team.
It's like winning the Super Bowl and having to pick last in the NFL draft.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I might have to do some more research on it because it could be possible that it's not the whole car. It might just be the body. They get to keep the chassis and the engine. I'll have to do some more research. I assume it goes to the museum. There's a little mini museum off of Turn 4-ish area away on the outside. So I assume that's where it sits, and that museum's open every day, I think. So that's where they want to show it off. But other than that, the race, I mean, I was disappointed in the whole, we watched like the last 60 laps of just them running at 50% throttle to in an attempt to save fuel so that their last pit stop would be shorter than everybody else's, but everybody else is doing the same thing. So what's the point there? It's not racing. If you'd watch a long shot from ways away, them coming off the turns, it literally looked like it was like highway traffic. It didn't even look like they were racing. And they were doing 180 something instead of 196. 196, 197 is how fast they were their fast laps, but they were running in the 180s. And it was just kind of like, what? No, well, let's fix that. Now, Denny said in his thing, him and Dale Jr. think that fixing it is by putting the spoiler that's on the back, making it smaller so it creates less drag, less downforce. It causes drivers to have to actually drive in the corners. You can't just be wide open throttle if you wanted to be. That it forces you to drive the car and make it handle, that you have to figure it out. I personally think the tires should not outlast the fuel. On every other track, they always have to come in for tires, not fuel. So I think they just give them softer tires on the speedway. Make them have to come in for that, and that'll create handling issues as well. So that's my big takeaway.
Dan, is there a sport that's more complained about than NASCAR?
Well,
I mean, seriously, it's like every week different NASCAR fans are complaining about something. I'm serious, every week.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's you're not wrong, but aren't every week we complaining about college football and college sports at this point?
Yeah, but sometimes, man, I don't know. It just feels like every week in NASCAR, I look on Twitter and I go to Jeff Glock and I read the comments, just something different. Well, the tires, all the throttle, all the sun was shining too bright, all the weather was. It's just something every week.
Dan, weren't the stages designed to maybe combat some of that less than full throttle racing in the middle of the race? Like you make them aim for certain points over the course of the race to be at the front of the field. Technically, they should be battling for those stages, no?
Yeah, I mean, and they are, but they know, like even in the stage, if they can't make it on fuel, then they still have to do the fuel saving thing. The fuel saving thing is solely there because the drivers are trying to put them in a position to have a 0.5 second less pit stop.
Yeah.
I mean, and Denny also said in his podcast, like most of the passing that is done at the super speedways is done on pit road. It's not done, like there's this constant changing of positions. I mean, yes, they do when they're running side by side, and that can constantly kind of go up and down. But you can't get a guy that's in 15th place who can just drive the field, because if he pulls out of the line, obviously he's going to go to the back of the field. Yeah. So it all has to do with they have to maximize their ability to get track position on pit road. And that's not racing, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah. What I mean, I get it. I do. But at the same time, you had a guy like Hocevar who was running 30th the whole race, and to your point, he came back to the lead because you saw Bubba and a lot of those start pitting, breaking away, and they went in groups. And I think that kind of hurt him too, right? They went in groups, and I know you don't want to see a guy go from 30th to first through the pit strategy, but it's still strategy, It's still interesting, I think. At least for me it is.
I won't disagree that it isn't interesting. I just would rather see. I'd rather see better racing on the track.
Yeah, I'm with you.
in
I get
general. And not that this race was horrible. I wouldn't have said it was horrible, other than the last 60-ish laps, them going really slow around the track. That seemed that's what seemed weird to me. The rest of the race was fine. I was enjoying it.
Yeah, and the ending was good, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm a 23-11 fan, obviously, because I'm a Denny fan. Tyler Reddick is, he probably will become my favorite driver. Maybe Chase Briscoe after Denny retires. I don't know. So, yeah, I mean, I'm okay with it.
And Michael won a Daytona 500. That's one thing that he has. One more thing he has over LeBron James.
Yes, he has another big fat ring that LeBron doesn't.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate you, man.
Thanks.
All right.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Let's move along, Cole. And I'm sure you got something to complain about coming up in just a minute. Let's hear
No
from
complaining from me.
What?
Today.
Nothing?
No, I don't have
All
anything. I love sports this weekend.
Well, and Tom, can you complain that Cole has nothing to complain about?
Well, I got something to complain about.
Okay.
I get, some people actually have to work on Mondays. So, I'm leaving work yesterday and find out, y'all are celebrating the president. So, I was kind of jealous that y'all got off yesterday. But, speaking of this NASCAR, I think NASCAR is stupid. Sorry if that offends anybody. And I give people credit who can sit on the couch for 6 hours and just watch them cars just drive in circles and stop and go back.
Tom, you got to have a financial investment in it, Tom.
Yeah, you got to buy a race car.
Yeah, my financial investment is this. Will the cars go in circles? Yes. Will there be stoppage for something stupid? Yes. Will it take all day to determine who can drive in the circle the fastest? Yes. And I'm going with a buddy of mine. He wants me to go with him. I'm going to the Cracker Barrel race in Nashville this year, and I'll tell you what, I don't know what I'm going to do for 5 hours as those cars drive in circles in that Nashville heat. I'm probably just going to drink it, a little bit too much cough syrup and just see what happens. But, I just, people that watch NASCAR, I know it's a thing, but I cannot get behind it.
Well, that's why I call it a cut the grass sport, Tom. You watch the beginning of the race, you go outside and cut the grass, come in and watch the last 50 laps.
Last 50, all you need to do is watch the last lap. That's
okay, it's fair.
He's gonna win.
That's fair.
But I want to say this. I think Gamecock baseball is gonna be okay. They just got to learn not to give up a bunch of runs, and they got to get a little bit better at scoring runs. And I think they'll be okay. They dropped one this past weekend. They'll be fine. It happens. It's baseball. Northern Kentucky's not a bad baseball team. Walford, you better be worried because the Gamecocks going to take care of business tonight up in Spartanburg. And also, quick shout out, to our hockey team. Cole wanted to give Spurrier crap the other day for not winning the SEC championship. Well, the hockey team won an SEC championship. So, take that. We got a hockey team now.
I had no idea South Carolina even had a hockey team.
Is it club hockey?
I think it is.
Yeah, it's club hockey, which most schools in this part of the country, that's all they got is club hockey.
Hey, listen to this. Last week I was at Chipotle right here, the one right here at the exit of the radio station, and the Auburn hockey team was in there. I didn't know it was a thing, so I guess it was club hockey. This was last week.
Were they already through the line before you
Thank
got to your
God,
burrito?
I would not have gone in if they were in line. Promise you. There was 15 or so, but I didn't know it was a thing.
Well, it's fun to watch. But other than that, go Gamecocks. Clemson still sucks. And, guys, we are less than 200 days till week 0. It's getting here quick.
Tom, do you not have any issue with what Paul Maneri said?
I didn't hear. What did he say?
Didn't have legs. Players were tired. Didn't have his team ready to play after the first 2 games on Friday.
Yeah, that's bad. How are you tired? It is February. You've played 3 baseball games.
3. And at that point, 2.
It's not like you played, games in 1 week after you've just played a 15-inning game. You played 3 baseball games. if the baseball team is tired, then it falls on conditioning. And my goodness, you don't do a whole lot of running to begin with in baseball to get that tired.
Hey,
true.
Tom,
Very true.
Tom, as the arbiter of all things romantic on this show, as evidenced by the promo where you talk about going on a love retreat with your wife, where did you take Mrs. Tom in Somerville for Valentine's Day?
Well, we talked about it, and the week before we had a fancy dinner out with some friends. So, college baseball was back on TV. The Olympics were on TV. So we just kind of kept it low key. We went and got some tacos at the Mexican restaurant, got some ice cream afterwards. So she wanted tacos. So I said, that's fine. That's cheap on the wallet. Got some ice cream. We were both happy.
I love it. Tom, you're the man. Appreciate you.
Go Gamecocks.
All right.
Go Gamecocks. The final signing off of Tom.
So you said you were out
downtown
Spartanburg watching the game, I guess at a bar or some friend's apartment. Okay, watching the South Carolina game. My wife and I went to Trapdoor.
Oh, I love Trapdoor. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I hadn't been in Trapdoor in probably 10, 15 years or so.
It's so good.
It hasn't changed a bit. The food is phenomenal.
So
the beers are incredible. What a great place to take a date.
Did you get the steak fritz?
She did.
Yeah, so good.
She did. And it was huge. It was a gigantic
right on top of the fries.
Right on top of fries. I got the meatballs with fries and a salad. I'm trying to drop a couple LBs. I can't have you looking like the svelte one on the show. I got to catch up.
I got a long way to go too. By the way, Clemson leads Charlotte, bottom of the third, 8-0. So this one's getting ugly. Thanks to a grand slam earlier in the game, and it was Jacob Terrell who hit the grand slam, and it's already 8-0. Clemson leading big in Tiger Town. McClatty at the bat, or at the plate, if you will, for Clemson. South Carolina and Wofford, let's see, what are they, 13, 14 minutes away? I saw our buddy Jack Veltri Diesel from Gamecock Central tweeted out he's there in Spartanburg covering them, obviously, for the Gamecocks. You have the lineup out as Tyler Back leading off for the Gamecocks tonight at Fifth Third Park. KJ Scobie and Talmadge LaCroix also in the lineup, and Bo Hollins in the lineup as well in the midweek. So I love it. Obviously, we're on the air, so we can't make it out. Wish we could make it out tonight to Fifth Third Park. It's a beautiful night for baseball, man. This is the 60s today, right? Sun's shining, and, there's nothing better. I mean, South Carolina was better baseball team. It might help.
Can we just call Dewey to come in and finish the show? We'll haul up to Spartanburg, catch the game.
Be real good. Texter from the 431 says chocolate milkshakes at Trapdoor are next level. Never had a chocolate milkshake from there.
We didn't have any room for dessert.
Yeah.
She came up, the waitress came up and she goes, I know this is a silly question, but would you like to hear dessert options? We're like, there is no way.
She's a bad waitress. You know why?
She should have just said them.
No, what I was taught when I worked in the restaurant business and several different restaurants, throughout the years, a good server. I used to work in a few different restaurants, and a good server always, you had a line, and it was a little bit, lying's not a good thing, but you kind of snuck this line in. The trick to, if there are any servers out there, here's a little free knowledge for you on a Tuesday. Let's say I'm serving you, Diesel, and your wife. I get your order, you get steak, you get shrimp, whatever. And right before I walk away, after I take your order, your main order, I say, oh, and by the way, we're really low on a couple of desserts in the back. Chocolate cake is really, really good tonight. We only have a few pieces left. Well, guess what? You and your wife are what? You're really, really hungry.
We don't want to FOMO.
You're really hungry. You're hungry. That's the thing. You're hungry because you hadn't eaten yet, right? And then you say, oh, yeah, you don't want it to run out. Go ahead and put me down for a piece of the chocolate cake. And guess what?
There's a lot of chocolate cake.
There's a lot of chocolate cake back there, but you've already purchased it.
Wait a minute now.
You like that, right?
We sat down, and she came up and said, just to want to let you know that we have one of the beef carpaccios left. And we're like, we'll take it because we love carpaccio.
Yeah.
She used that line. We bought it. So I don't. So you're telling me that was a lie?
Could have been.
God.
Could have been. I'm not saying the trapdoor lies. I think it's a great restaurant. I think it'd be even better if they sponsored this show. But
Call us.
I do, Diesel. I've learned that. And I used it. You always let them know, because you think about it, it's a sales tactic, right?
FOMO.
The customers are hungry. They don't want to, like you said, miss out on the chocolate cake that's going to be gone.
Dang.
They order it when they're hungry.
Brilliant.
It's brilliant. And then, by the way, well, guess what? The food comes. They get full. It doesn't matter. You've already paid for. You've already ordered it. You're going to get the chocolate cake anyway. I don't care if you eat it or not. Throw it in the trash. You've already paid for it.
Right.
I could sell dessert to freaking India. I'm telling you, there's
Good
the
God.
sales tactics, man. You got to do it. So there you go. Any servers out there? I hope you don't lie. I mean,
Fascinating.
lying's not a good thing, but it's a sales tactic.
That is manipulative.
It is. I love it. Diesel, we got to run off the break. Grayson Mann, he joins us on Mondays, but we did not have a show yesterday. He'll join us next to talk Clemson. Grayson Mann, TigerNet.com.
Fan Upstate.
It is time to talk all things Clemson with Grayson Mann of TigerNet.com. You normally hear Grayson on Monday, but we were off yesterday. Grayson gracious enough to join us on Tuesday, a Tolo Tuesday. Appreciate all of you listening. If you have a Clemson question, get it in on the Joy Law Firm text line 844-326-3663. You've had a couple of days to sleep on it now, Grayson. Your reaction, your thoughts on Clemson dropping not one but two games in a row to Virginia Tech and now Duke on Saturday.
Yeah, I think I had outlined it to you guys last week of the importance of this stretch, particularly getting things taken care of against Virginia Tech, just because there's a lot of uncertainty when you're going up against a Duke team, especially in Durham. A lot of variables that you just have to account for, and Clemson went 0 of 2. And I think for Virginia Tech, it was more of a night that the way things unfolded, you were going to lose that 9 times out of 10 with the way they were shooting. But I think a pattern in Clemson's losses has emerged, or that top guy, and Brownell's kind of talked about a little bit, Cole, where not having that elite alpha scorer like a Chase Hunter or Gerard or PJ Hall, it's catching up to this group. And I think their ceiling, frankly, was exposed in Durham. And I know Duke's probably going to be playing in the Final Four, so maybe it's not entirely fair, but there's certainly a pattern in Clemson's losses that make me think, yeah, they're going to be a tournament team, but I don't know how far they necessarily can go.
So, Grayson, I mean, what does Brad Brownell do in the short term right now? Is it a give his team a chance to rest? I mean, how do you shake Justin Porter, Nick Davidson, Ace Buckner, and a couple of those guys? They need to all be scoring 10 points a night to win ball games. How do you shake guys out of their slump?
Yeah, it's one of those things he had talked to us on Monday about. He does this ACC coaches call and filled us in sort of on his strategy and a sort of tongue-in-cheek reference to what's going on in Kansas State, where he's got to be a little bit of a brutally honest guy with a mix of saying, hey, we've been here before, and there's this aspect where Clemson's dropped 2 straight. It was Alabama and BYU earlier in December, and then they rattled off 9 in a row, and they don't have a Goliath-sized team until Chapel Hill in North Carolina. I believe March 13th, I want to say, or March 8th, something along those lines. So they have an opportunity to bounce back. So they got to get Justin Porter going. Absolutely need him to get out of this funk that he's been in. I think it's 6 straight where he shot under 30%. Can't certainly have that in a team that doesn't really have that much offensive variety. So it's going to be a fine line he's going to have to push, but certainly Clemson's done here before, and he has confidence that they can rattle off wins again like they did before ACC play really got going.
Talking to Grayson Mann, TigerNet.com, right here on the Fan Upstate. When you look at the landscape of college basketball, man, you see so many different types of teams this year. You've got the guys that really play good defense. You've got the teams with elite scorers as well. And we saw that Duke kind of had a combination of the two on Saturday and what they were able to do to Clemson. Kind of going back to Diesel's question a little bit there, do you think even though they don't have that right guy right now, do you think there might be a place for them to fit into the puzzle come postseason play where they can go on a little bit of a run?
Yeah, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility for this group because they've done it. And
I thought you were going to say, oh, yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
We can't be all negative here today, guys. It's turnaround Tuesday. But I think for Clemson, it starts in Winston-Salem, right? Where there is going to be a small window now between here and the ACC tournament where Clemson, I don't think, barring some unforeseen collapse, it's going to be a group that's going to walk into that ACC tournament with its March destiny already in hand. So you mentioned sort of how do they kind of bring that together? I think it's got to come down to this guard play. And partially my suggestion would be maybe move Ace Buckner to the starting lineup. I think he's one of those guys that provides a different pace to this offense. And this is where the absence of Zach Foster has certainly caught up with them, where he was a lengthier, quicker guard and sort of kind of fit as either a 2 or a 3 in this lineup just because of the length that he presented, that skill as well, that I think we could have been talking here in February. It's February 17th. If Foster was still healthy, I think we could argue that he would be their best player right now. He was that gifted and that talented. So I think it's going to come down to that backcourt getting a little bit better and maybe a little bit of a rotation to the starting lineup if Porter can't get it going.
Grayson, how many years now have you been covering Clemson athletics?
This is my second full year with TigerNet, but my 4th year overall.
Okay. Now I know, like, going into the press box every single week for football, a couple times a week for basketball, a couple times a week for baseball as well, can get kind of repetitive. It can get kind of boring. You walk in, you set up your laptop, you get everything ready to go. Do you have any in-stadium side quests that you try to achieve at least once a season across all these sports?
That's a good question. Stadium side quest. The job is never boring, Diesel. I love what I do. You could stick me in a 9 to 5 office. I'd be miserable over there, but this is kind of it's my calling. But stadium side quests. Oh my goodness, that's a great question. I love in football, and you guys have been there in that Clemson press box before. It's the halftime meetups that I love so much, just because you get to meet different people. Basketball, I think when I'm in different stadiums, I like to walk around and just kind of take it all in. And I think just talk to people. It's one of those deals where Cameron Indoor Stadium, I'm chopping it up with security guards that I have no business talking to, but just being like, hey, there was a guy trying to control the crowd of students at Duke. And I just looked at him and went, you got a hell of a job today, huh? And he goes, oh, yeah. So I just started talking to him. So it's just one of those things that I enjoy doing when I'm on the road or even here at home at Clemson.
You experienced that environment for the first time, right? At Duke, Grayson. Yep. I went a couple of years ago when Wofford played up there, and you're right. It's unbelievable. Is that in your mind now the most difficult place to play in college basketball?
Certainly from what I've experienced, I would not understand how these guys are able to get it done just because everything's so tight. You walk in there and you're kind of underwhelmed at first. Everyone tells you it's small, but I don't think people realize how small it is, and that maybe plays to Duke's favor. Where you're like, man, this is kind of a high school gym. Like, what are we doing here? And you walk in and each basket feels like the Final Four is on the line. And the people behind me, they've been camping for days almost. It's just a combination of fury, of passion. It's great. It's what makes that stadium and college basketball so special. And now it makes me want to think, can Clemson schedule a few more other stadiums that I would love to go explore here down the road? It'd be great for Brownell to get that going. Talk about side quests. Go explore Kansas, maybe. Go check out some of these other stadiums.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Grayson, I got to make sure that I always pass by Don Munson in the hallways and tell him, hi, yikes. We're both alums of App State. It's part of our fight song. So I have to make sure I say that to him at least once every time I'm in the press box. And maybe I know the answer to this question before I ask it, and it's undoubtedly money. But when you watch Duke basketball on television, it looks phenomenal to have the students from end line to end line, right? It looks so good on TV. But when you tune into a lot of teams across the country, you see some 75, 95, 130-year-old alums sitting there, not doing anything on television. That's what the people who are watching on TV see. Why do you think it is that more schools won't give students that prime on television real estate? Because to me, that seems like an invaluable way to say that our student body is incredibly engaged.
Yeah, maybe it comes down to logistics with some of these stadiums where they've been in place for decades. So it's just a thing that would take a long time to fix and maybe even creep into the basketball season just because it's so long and you'd have to be really tight on construction. So I don't know as to all the details, what it would go into, but that, again, it's what makes Duke so unique. And Clemson's got a bit of that, where how their student section's kind of set up, where it's a little bit behind the scorer's table, but it kind of goes baseline to baseline, and you have that close feel where on the broadcast team, I think I clipped a video on Twitter. It was the snow game against Pittsburgh, and this kid's dancing behind the broadcast crew. You don't get that many places else. So there's just a nice special feel to it, and this personal intimacy between the game and the student section that I don't think you get in other sports.
Grayson on the diamond. Clemson obviously up really big right now. I believe 8-0. No, now 10-0 in the bottom of the fourth, rolling over the 49ers. But, man, what an elite weekend from the pitching staff against Army. Two runs allowed, 2 walks allowed, 34 strikeouts, throwing a lot of strikes. And again, not overreacted. It's just one weekend against a team that Clemson was better than. But, do you feel like that pitching staff, even this past weekend where they didn't have all of their horses in the stable, do you think that might be the identity of this team going into a year where we thought, okay, you lost Cam Canarella, you lost some really good players. Maybe, though, in 2026, it's the pitching staff that can be the consistent night in and night out for Clemson.
Cole, how many times have we jumped on this and been like, man, if only Clemson could add a few extra arms, how much better they could be? And I think you're right. It's good not to overreact to one weekend, but I think it's also very encouraging for a group that you had certain instances. If a body dropped here and there, you were kind of crossing your fingers as a Tiger fan to see how things would shake out in the rotation, or Canuck really needed to play well on a Friday if you were going to get a series W over the weekend. And I don't think he played particularly that well up to his standard on Friday, and Clemson still found a way to sweep the action in a weird doubleheader with weather. So encouraging, I think, is the word that I came with when regarding that series against Army. We'll know a lot more once ACC play starts and things are a little bit more settled into the rotation and starters are identified, but I think encouraging, certainly, Cole.
Grayson, what can you tell us about this young man, Adam Guthrie, who's an offensive tackle commit for Clemson? I mean, he seems to be a kind of a baller on the basketball court as well. Is there any chance that Brad Brownell is going to try to do the reverse Ian Shefflin and get him on the basketball court with some NIL money?
Maybe if Guthrie's eligibility expires and we have a basketball crossover. I'm not sure that that's in the works at the moment, Diesel, but I think Guthrie will be a massive piece to Matt Luke's sort of 2026 structure here, where he's brought in some studs on this offensive line, and it's a guy that can play multiple positions and someone who really got a lot of heart. And when I asked him if he was coming early for the spring semester, that just the idea of being with this he really enjoys being out there on the floor, being with that team one last time, and just kind of being that team guy certainly meant a lot to him. Even the delay, something that I'm sure has been in the dream of dreams, is to play college football, but to put that on hold for one more semester to be able to go out with his guys, something I could admire, especially from afar.
Grayson, flipping right back to the diamond real quick. Do you think, you mentioned ACC play, and it made me curious when you look at this schedule. You know, last year and next year, they'll be in Arlington to start the year. This year, outside of South Carolina, you're looking at a weekend series with Bryant, this coming weekend. Obviously, a couple of midweeks in there with Charlotte, like tonight, Michigan State and Presbyterian College. South Carolina, though, in that last weekend of February, early March, before you really get into ACC play in the middle of the month with Georgia Tech, do you believe South Carolina, not asking you to throw shade, but do you think the Gamecocks will be a good litmus test for us to see what this Clemson team will look like? Or maybe the latter, where you might have to get all the way in the conference play before you know how good this baseball team really is?
Yeah, and the Northern Kentucky loss certainly doesn't help when you're looking for a litmus test. But I think anytime you go against your rival, Cole, it's one of those things where you throw records out of the window and you just play baseball, or just any sport in general, where it doesn't entirely matter because you're going to get your best from that squad, whether it's at the end of the year or the beginning. And we saw Clemson and South Carolina in football this year. I would argue both those teams weren't very good, but I think both of them played up to a quality, and Clemson's defense obviously stepped up that day to take down the Gamecocks. So, yeah, I look at it as maybe South Carolina isn't as good as they've been in years past, but still, you're going to be on the road. That place is going to be packed out. 2 of 3 are going to be away from home. You can win that series. I think regardless of how it happens, you're going to be looking back, and that will still be pretty important to Tiger fans.
Grayson, we had Eric Bakich on the show 2 weeks ago, I think. He talked to us about his proposal to push college baseball back a little bit. He's talked about that with a lot of people. There's been a lot of people who have asked him about it. Any actual momentum that you believe will come of this, and the logistics of pushing the baseball season back past early June is when they do the College World Series now. If you got to push that thing into late June or even early July, how many headaches and problems does that legitimately create?
Yeah, as far as momentum is concerned, Diesel, I don't have a great answer for you. And it sounds like this has sort of been Bakich's personal project since his Michigan days, based on what he told us a few weeks ago. I would imagine if he's got support across the country and he was sort of attacking it from a variety of different places. Now, as a sports fan, I would love to have something to do and to watch in July. It would be pretty great. But I think with the NCAA and the way they're structured, you start to run into a few different things. Nobody's on campus in June and July, so you kind of lose that student aspect of it. So as far as a switch coming down the road, I'm not entirely sure. But it is one thing that Bakich is incredibly passionate about. And I'm sure if you want to go have a sit-down chat with him, that's your introduction right there, and you're going to get him for an hour.
Grayson, you're the best man as always. We appreciate the heck out of you, and we will do it again next week.
All right, guys, you take care.
You too. Grayson Mann, TigerNet.com. Always a fun conversation, Clemson related, and Clemson in action right now, Diesel. They are whooping Charlotte pretty good top of the fifth. It's 10-0 in the top of the fifth.
Cole, when we come back, there is a sporting event happening in a couple of months that I don't think any of us saw coming. The question is, do we really care about this? It has some big names attached. We'll get into it, chop it up for a few minutes on this next.
Strap in. We're
You know, Cole, what a lot of people don't know about doing a radio show every day, it's our job to pay attention to the things that we know our audience cares about.
Yes.
And apparently that is only college football and NFL football. That's the only thing our audience seems to care about and interact with on a daily basis. It's also our job to constantly test and figure out if there are new things that we're not talking about that maybe the audience does care about. Because, you know, Greenville is rapidly becoming a metropolitan area. We got people moving in from all over the place, and their interests change as time goes along. I don't know, Cole. It's always been hard to judge how many of our Tolos really care about mixed martial arts. Like, is it a big deal that you hear that millions and millions of dollars are on the line all the time, that these fights are getting major viewership on pay-per-view? But do the Tolos really care about mixed martial arts? Do you like MMA?
No, I don't. I have not ever really, like, I tried a couple of weekends ago when it snowed to get into it. I watched. I didn't try to get into it. I've never been an MMA fan. And I think if you polled, like, if you just picked a random city like Greenville, if you polled if you polled 25 people, maybe 1 out of 25 sports fans. Now, that's already a smaller pool. But again, you know, I think in certain places it has its niche. But the people that do like it love it. I just hadn't gotten into it.
What if I told you this was a fight between two attractive women who were also legends in the sport? Would I get you more interested then?
No.
Oh.
No.
Okay.
I know Ronda Rousey, obviously know who she is.
Yeah. Well, she's fighting again.
She's fighting, and maybe I watched one fight.
Yeah.
One fight when she actually did fight. So, again, that just goes to show I didn't watch it when she was fighting.
So you got two legendary ladies of mixed martial arts. Both of them are movie stars. Ronda Rousey had some time in the WWE.
Yeah.
Gina Carano was everywhere when it came to, a little bit of controversy over some things that she said. Well, those two are coming out of retirement to fight each other. 39-year-old Ronda Rousey, 43-year-old Gina Carano. They're going to fight, and it's going to be on the dime of Jake Paul's most valuable promotions. Here's what I think, Cole. I don't believe this is a legitimate fight in any way, because we saw what happened with the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight. It clearly looked like they were throwing or pulling punches throughout that fight. It was designed to go all the way to the end. And I don't believe that this fight, set for May 16th with 5-minute rounds, is going to be an actual legitimate fight, because as far as this sport is concerned, these are two old ladies fighting each other.
It is. And they're both, you said they're out of the game.
Yep.
So, but I guess, like, if you go to someone who is a fan of MMA, I guess it's intriguing to them, you know. And we'll see what the viewership is. I think the biggest thing with MMA and like a golf and NASCAR, like, they have their people that follow it, but it's not football where everybody watches it. That's the difference in it, you know.
Who wrote that song, sang that rock song, I Won't Get Fooled Again? Was that the Who?
You're asking the wrong person on the rock.
I think it was the Who. It won't get fooled again. I won't buy this just for that reason, because I don't trust anything that Jake Paul has his hands in. It's a sham fight. It's not a real fight. There's no way that this is going to be a real fight. So, Tolos, are you going to buy? It's on Netflix. Are you going to watch this fight, or are you staying as far away from it as you possibly can? Text us at 844-FAN-PHONE. If we know that a lot of our Tolos care about this, we'll watch it so that we can talk about it on the next day.
Yeah, and again, I think, you know, I will probably – now, if it were the only sport on that night, maybe I'd watch. But I probably that night will be able to find something that and again, what's so great about sports is everybody has sports they love. People have sports they hate. I love women's college basketball. Somebody out there hates women's college basketball. Dewey does, you know.
Dewey hates
everything. But and that's sports, you know. It's just so mix or match, and those who like MMA might be excited about this. Diesel, it's time to hear what happened this weekend. The Tolos have heard from you and I. A good audio blitz coming your way next.
upstate.
Help. Riley Herbst, his teammate. Reddick drops to the bottom. Alongside Elliott. In the wall goes Herbst. And Tyler Reddick comes to the line. Wow. A shower of sparks behind him. Unbelievable.
Unreal. Didn't really hear of him all day long until the last lap. Daytona proves yet once again it's all about the last lap.
That's the only lap that you have to lead. What a great job there by Tyler Reddick at the end.
Tyler Reddick did not lead the laps prior to the last lap, Diesel, but he got it done in Daytona. You heard that audio. It's time for an audio blitz. Some of the best sports audio from the weekend coming at you. And again, it was a non-football weekend. But when it comes to sports audio, there was a ton to react to. And I love a TV call of a race ending, but I love the radio call better. I don't have the radio call, but I don't know. It's just something about the radio call that I like a little bit more, Diesel.
Yeah, phenomenal ending to that race. Tyler Reddick, he came from what, like fourth to win that race? I mean, to have a little 5-lap shootout, to have multiple crashes behind him on the last lap, to just let it go. It was phenomenal. Like, big shout out to all the other cars and drivers that were able to get off the track and let this thing finish under green, because man, that was a great finish.
It was, especially if you're a fan of Michael Jordan, 2311 Racing. Here was Michael Jordan post-game, obviously very, very elated after the big win.
I can't even believe it. I mean, it was so gratifying. I mean, we had 4 guys that were really fighting, that was helping each other out. I mean, you never know how these races going to end, right? It's like you just try to survive. And you know, I thought Riley did an unbelievable job by pushing at the end. You know, that shows you what teamwork can really, really do. I mean, he doesn't get enough credit. He won't get enough credit, but we feel the love. We understand exactly what he did. And, I mean, we just hung in there all day. I mean, we great strategy by the team, and we gave ourselves a chance at the end. And, look, I'm ecstatic. I mean, I don't even know what to say. It feels like I won a championship, but until I get my ring, I won't even know.
Until I get my ring, I won't even know. I'm just upset, Diesel, that Michael Jordan wasted all these years. He could have had the Hornets or Bobcats, whatever they were, when he was the owner or part owner. It didn't rub off on them. Maybe they're just cursed. He's won everywhere he's been. The Bulls, NASCAR, but not the Charlotte Hornets. What's the deal?
Yeah, it just that just shows how far down in the depths the Charlotte basketball scene got when Michael Jordan couldn't even bring him back.
No doubt. And you know what, though? I think it's a testament to the sport, and I think it only will help NASCAR when you look at what's happening with Michael Jordan, man. It's just incredible to think about what this guy's done in his professional career, Diesel, and then come out now, become a team owner with Denny Hamlin. You've got this weird dynamic where Denny Hamlin owns these other drivers, yet he's a driver competing against the drivers that he owns, right? And Michael, the best, maybe one of the best ever, right? Top 2 between him and LeBron to ever play the game. And this guy is excelling because he's doing what? He's spending the money. He knows it takes money in NASCAR to win. I think it's great for the sport. I'm not saying that he'll bring like millions of new eyeballs on it, but I'm telling you, Michael Jordan winning a Daytona 500, I don't know that people will understand what that means for the sport of NASCAR. I love it. I absolutely love it.
So, truthfully, this would be amazing for the sport, but it would also be just another LeBron following MJ. Do you think LeBron will ever get into NASCAR?
Doubt it.
Because he's got his part ownership in Fenway Sports Group. He's got some ownership in the Red Sox, Liverpool FC, the Penguins, and RFK. So he owns a piece of RFK Racing, but he is certainly not in the same kind of upfront visible capacity that MJ is.
Well, the thing about it is I don't think it connected with LeBron at a young age like it did MJ. And MJ's talked about it before. He grew up as a fan of NASCAR, right? So if you grow up a fan of it, it's got a place in your heart. You know, you've got a desire. He talked about before. He's always loved NASCAR. And if you don't grow up with it, you don't grow up around it, you probably hate it, like Tom in Somerville. But I love it. I think it's great for the sport. Did you hear the comedian Nate Bargatze, Diesel? You know who that is, right? The comedian. He had the pleasure pre-race of saying and doing this before the Daytona 500.
This is the most American thing I've ever done in my life. Drivers, start your engine!
Where do you rank it on a scale of 1 to 10? You think you did a good job?
He gets about a 7.
Oh,
it's
about
a
American
six
thing
and a half, 7.
I've ever done in my life. Drivers, start your engine!
I'd say like 6. I'd say it's not bad, not great. It's above average. He had excitement behind it. I mean, nobody will ever top. Is it Kev? I forget the guy's name. There was one that was an all-time great. You do that though. You've got to bring it. Like you've got to have. And again, he did good. Not criticizing him. But
I would have expected a little more of a bit, you know?
Yeah. Maybe they don't allow you to.
Can you give me 30 seconds on NASCAR, Nate, and then say, start your engines?
Hey, you were talking about MMA a minute ago. Dana White was asked over the weekend if he could give any new details on their, I guess, biggest fight of the year on the 4th of July at the White House. Here's what Dana said. Didn't really reveal a whole lot other than maybe the card is complete, or is it complete?
We got the White House card done last week.
The card's done already? Done?
Yep.
Nice. How many title fights are you able to say?
No. I'm not saying anything. We have like 2 different options laid out, and the matchmaking process has already started. So, yeah.
When you were answering the question about the White House, you said you had 2 options, but then you said it was done. I'm sorry.
So we laid out 2 different options. I didn't say it was done. I said the card was built. Yeah, it's done. I'm not talking about the White House card.
Yeah, for sure. And then, but just one other question about the White House was like, as far as announcing the card, do you feel like in the media world that we're in, it's enough to just put it out, or do you feel like that is there like some kind of special announcement that we should be expecting, or is it just like, hey, tell people what the card is and the media will do their thing, or do you?
We don't know yet. As we get close, we've been kicking around a lot of ideas, and I don't know. Me and Borsari actually fly to D.C. this week and sit down with the president and his team and start walking them through not just the production but the fight card. We have like 3 different options on all the different production stuff and see what he likes and what he doesn't like. But let me tell you this: this event is going to be so badass and so unique and so special and so expensive.
So expensive, the final part. Going back to our last conversation, Diesel, about women's MMA. Here's what I would hope about this White House card, because if not, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen for me, and I would imagine a lot of other people. I mentioned one thing I love about the Daytona 500 is the pageantry, right? The pre-race. And, like the football games, you have the flag rolled out. I love all that. I hope UFC does a really good job with the pageantry before, because once the fights start, I'll probably be, I could care less. I just, again, I'm not a fight fan. I'm not an MMA fan. So going into this, like if there's great pageantry and they have this really patriotic deal, I'll be excited for it. But if it's not, it won't do it for me.
Okay, so you're into all the pre-fight buildup and maybe some of the interstitials between fights,
storylines, so stuff like that. Yeah.
So are you convinced? Are you talking yourself into being a WWE fan? Because that's what WWE is.
It does sound like it. It does.
But every time he talked about that, he sounded less sure of how set the fight. Oh, it's set. Yeah. Well, we got a couple of options. We're still kicking around some ideas. We want to see what the president wants to do.
Then he says, not talking about it. Okay, one more question about the fight.
So what is it, man?
It's good stuff. I don't really know what to expect. How about Joel Klatt? I love this audio. Laying out what the college football playoff calendar looks like. If you haven't heard this is fascinating. It's awful that we're having a national championship at the end of January, but here's where we are in college football. This was Joel Klatt doing a pretty good job of breaking it down on his show just a few days ago.
Yes, because that's what fans want, is more breaks in the college football playoff. Here's what the schedule looks like. First round, December 18th and 19th. That's a Friday and Saturday. So, again, we can't play right after a conference championship game weekend. For what reason? I don't know. But we don't, and we drag this thing out. Then we're going to play the quarterfinals. But Problem, NFL is going to play on Thursday, December 31st, New Year's Eve. So we can't go up against the NFL, big bad NFL. So what are we going to do? Rather than completing our playoff through the month of December and finishing on January 1. No. What should we do? Let's throw out random awful dates that avoid the NFL. It's a great idea. Woo! Quarterfinals, December 30th, day off, then January 1st. So Wednesday and Friday. But because they go Wednesday, Friday, they can't just hop into the next week because now you've got an extra day of rest for the winners of the Wednesday game.
Ugh.
Well, that can't happen. So what should we do? More time off. Yeah, you bet. So the semifinals are going to be January 14th and 15th. That's a Thursday, Friday. Wild card round is that weekend. So they'll get drowned out by that noise. And then we can't just play, the next Monday because now we don't have enough time because we had to avoid the NFL. So the champ game goes to Monday the 25th. Oh, painfully stupid is what that is. This format is awful. It does not help the fans. It does not help college football. It does not help coaches. It does not help the transfer portal. It does not help the calendar. It doesn't help anything. We're going to continue to have coaches fired early and have to make decisions about the playoff because our playoff is stupid. We won't play a championship until 50 days after Selection Sunday and the title game. 7 weeks to play 4 rounds. What are we doing?
I hate this. I hate this. Did you hear that? 50 days.
So we're going to have to spend almost 2 months, Cole, building up. Like, I love talking college football. I love it. I despise having to talk about the same games for days and days and days and days on end leading up to it. I hate that part. This sucks. Joel Klatt's right. I don't agree with Joel Klatt very much because he says a lot of really stupid stuff on his show. But whoever at ESPN, I guess, or at the college football playoff, whoever just like bent over and let Roger Goodell just rail him from behind with the schedule, it needs to be fired. There's no
so
reason
bad,
for that.
Man.
That is not advocating for your own sport. That is getting out of the way of another sport.
It's getting worse. Like, let's just say it. The sport's getting worse. From what's happening in NIL to the portal, now to the scheduling and the playoff, the sport is getting worse. And nobody likes it. And you're talking about a sport that's not listening to the fans at all? This is getting bad. I mean, it is. That is 50 days after Selection Sunday. Like, Diesel, to say that out loud, that's stupid. Now, I do like Bo Jackson. He had a pretty good take on NIL.
Maybe they're trying to make this so bad that the new Big Ten proposal of 24 teams, no conference championship games, they want to make that seem like the best possible option.
Maybe so. So Bo Jackson was on Shaq's podcast recently, and Shaq asked the question of Bo Jackson, speaking of college football and NIL, what he thought. And here's what Shaq said in Bo's answer.
What do you think of NIL? To be honest, I think it's teaching young kids how to run away from their problems. Number 2, it's ruining college sports. And what's done is that, for me, the way I see it, what they've done, in short, is they've let the horses out the barn and forgot to close the gate. And they ain't getting them horses back in the barn.
I agree.
You give these kids all this money, nobody have no financial sense, and their agents aren't telling them. They going out spending money like it's growing on trees. They're driving cars and wearing jewelry that costs more than their parents' home. It's just ridiculous. You get pissed off for doing the dumb things on the field, so you're going to go enter the transport portal.
And you can leave.
And take that money with you. No, it shouldn't work like that. Because if you're going to sign back and play with me, you got to adhere to the rules just like the professional players do.
Dead on, right?
Dead on.
Dead on.
Dead on. But you know what this is also doing, Cole? This is also setting up a system where the young athletes coming into college football, and, well, I mean, now some of them are like 27, 28 years old, they are now put at odds with the old heads, with the guys that came up through this game, did it the old-fashioned way, who have a lot of pride and passion with this sport. I mean, yes, it's another example of, old man yells at cloud, But this old man and that old man being Bo and Shaq, these are legends of the game. And so now you've got probably 20-year-old kids, 21-year-old kids with millions of dollars rolling around saying, screw Bo Jackson.
Yeah.
Screw Shaq. I don't care what they think.
Yeah. It's bad.
I'm a young kid who's never won anything, who's got $2 million in his pocket.
Yep, and he's right. He'll leave and still have the money. Let's go to the college level real quick. Let's hear from Kim Mulkey. As you can imagine, she wasn't the happiest camper after Dawn got 18 in a row. That's right. I said it. 18. Here was Kim post-game.
Coach, is there some things with Fulwale where it just gets to that's her game and you have to you start to say, I'm going to accept some of that because it's not going to go away, or how are you approaching that?
Yes, to answer your question, I don't like that she was 2 for 9. I don't like that Mama was 2 for 7, but I got to go back and look at the shots. And we all know the missed layup. That's basketball. It happens. What I start with Malaysia is turnovers. She had 4 turnovers tonight. That's important. That's really important. And the flow of the game. Do we have the lead? What's the lead? Is she at the point or do I have her at the off guard? Where do I need to have her right now? Who does she need to be guarding? And those are all things that we have to do as a coaching staff in making decisions. And I think she's grown. I think she's come a long way. Some of the things she does, you do live with, but not until you continue to make her better in certain areas. You don't just look the other way and let it cost you a game. You be a little bit patient with her, but you make sure you tell her, got to get better, got to do better there.
Look, we all know Kim Mulkey's a good coach, and 18 in a row sounds unbelievable. The fact that they've lost that many to South Carolina. But sometimes, and look, all streaks come to an end, Diesel, but sometimes in sports, man, teams just have your number. And right now, the Gamecocks have LSU's number. When I heard that stat Saturday night, I literally asked the person I was sitting next to, did they really just say 18 in a row? They did.
Yep, unbelievable.
Eric Bakich post-game. Here's audio from him after the game on Saturday on the win over Army West Point.
To our pitching staff, it's just an awesome weekend. It's hard to sweep a doubleheader, sweep a team, but to get back-to-back shutouts in a doubleheader, the legendary Brian Hennessy, #1 ranked SID in the country, said it hasn't happened since 2001. So just to show you how rare it is, especially against a good team, a regional team. They'll be in the postseason again this year. I know it. That's a tough group of kids, well coached, very fundamentally sound, and play hard. And so to get that type of pitching performance all weekend, but today especially with putting zeros up, was huge.
One more after Eric Bakich. On the women's side of things, Clemson's coach, Sean Poppy, the women's coach, after a tough loss over the weekend. Here's Coach Poppy.
So it's not strategic. It's really about a will of doing your job. I talked to my team. The unfortunate piece is today we lost on 2 things that you learn when you're 10, is how to make a layup and how to box out, right? And those were the 2 things that cost us a game, which would have been a huge one for us and our program headed towards March.
That audio from Sean Poppy after their loss. Good season. They're getting better and better, but still very, very tough.
A live check-in on Clemson versus Charlotte. They have opened this one up. The Tigers have. It is 11-0 in the bottom of the 6th. Clemson hitting the ball really, really well today. Charlotte just doesn't have enough firepower to hang with them.
They are getting mauled, it sounds like. And also, Gamecocks underway with Wofford. That game just started a little while ago in Spartanburg. And I don't know what it is, but, man, you talked about Clemson. Another home run from Clemson to make it 11-0, as you said. That was, I think, the 2nd or 3rd home run already tonight. So Clemson bats rolling. South Carolina
tied 1-1.
Oh, okay.
Bottom of the 3rd.
There we go.
Yep.
There we go. Coming down to almost the midway point here in a few innings.
Wofford's got 4 hits to South Carolina's 2. Wofford has also committed an error.
How about it? Happening in the Berg, Tolos.
Yeah.
Let us know if you know anybody that's there, or call us tomorrow. Let us know how it was.
We're going to talk some more Clemson next and South Carolina as well. But basketball on the hardwood side with Rocco Miller of bracketology.org or bracketeer.org, excuse me. He is a phenomenal college basketball guest. You'll hear Rocco next right here on the Fan Upstate